What up, Whiskey Ginger fans? Welcome back to the show. First time joining the show? Hey, welcome to this show. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. I know you're going to love it. This week, my guest is Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn! I get tagged so much online with Sami Zayn, and congrats to him on the WrestleMania victory. I had him on the show before he even won. So, look at that, baby. Cena connected us. We put him on the show. Shout out to Sami Zayn. He's the man, the Red Rumbler. Love him so much. I am on the road. Come see me and Bobby Lee tour around the country. BadFriendsPod.com is where you get those tickets. BadFriendsPod.com. Come see us. Enough rambling from me. Let's go to the episode.
In here, we pour whisk, 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 whisk.
You were that creature in the ginger beard.
Sturdy and ginger.
Like vampires, the ginger gene is a curse.
Gingers are beautiful.
You owe me $5 for the whiskey and $75 for the horse.
Gingers? Oh, hell no.
This whiskey is excellent.
Ginger. I like gingers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Whiskey Ginger. My guest today is one of my favorite people on earth. I say that for all my guests, but I mean it once again today. It is my arch nemesis, Sami Zayn. You're here, baby.
Yeah.
You don't have a drink, otherwise we would cheers, and that's okay.
Do you want?
We'll do air cheers on a Perrier. Here you go.
Perrier,
Air
right,
cheers, because
yeah.
I can't cheers it without.
Is that a rule? Or?
That's an old Irish rule.
Ah.
Now, you look like an old Irishman, but you're not.
Well, so I was going to ask you about your background because Santino.
I'm Sicilian and Irish.
Okay, so the Irish is, I'm assuming, where the red comes in, or not? Not necessarily. Is that from the
100%.
Italian side?
No. The Italian side is my dirtbag side. That's my smoke cigarettes.
Well, because
indoors.
so I'm Syrian. I'm an Arab, and I don't look it.
I know.
So I thought that was a commonality.
What's this about you being Syrian and looking like someone that's related to me? A brown-eyed redhead, by the way. You know, there's like none of us. We're the rarest of the gingers.
Why? What are redheads normally?
Most gingers are light-eyed.
Green-eyed?
Blue-eye. Well, blue is the most common eye color, but most are blue-eyed.
Really?
Brown-eye redhead, tough to see because we're the prettiest.
What you've got is a little bit of what I got. Like, you don't have that... No, I don't want to offend anybody with this comment, but like
ugly
almost like
Irish thing. Say it.
No. I'm
Say
saying
it.
like, you know, the very, very fair skin. Like you look like you can catch a tan.
I can catch a little baby
You'll
tan.
burn, but you can catch a
That's
slight
exactly
tan.
right.
I'm the same way.
You'll catch a little one.
Like I don't have that like the ginger image is like very, very almost
Just say
like
ghastly
porcelain
ghastly
skin.
Ghosts. Yeah, no. Little Japanese girls are porcelain. We're ghastly ghosts.
Right,
Irish
okay.
people are ghastly ghosts who creep people out, and they've got such a strong accent that is so pale and see-through. I don't look as Irish as I am, but I don't look Italian at all.
Zero.
And I'm right down the gut.
So if you know like my name and you're Arab and you saw my name, you'd be like, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't match
The same
up.
with you. I'm wondering if you're like Santino.
Santino.
And people look up at you and you're like,
do you get harassed at the border?
no, so that's the, there's the white privilege, actually.
Yeah.
I had a hyper awareness of what white privilege was before there were words to articulate it.
Right.
Because I just knew like, oh yeah, I look white, so I get through the border all the time.
Yeah, they don't say anything to
They
you.
don't say anything.
And also, you're a Canadian-born kid.
Yeah.
So you're a Syrian who's a Canadian who now works in the States mostly.
Yep.
And then when you go back to Syria,
I don't.
ever.
I haven't. So my parents were born there, and
Yeah.
they moved off to Canada. So we've only, and you know, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So a trip to Syria was like 3-4 years. You save up money, and then you go. So I'd only been a handful of times, and the last time I went was 1998.
Oh, so you never go.
I don't go. I have not been in my adult life.
Do you want to go?
I'd love to go one day when things are,
When things are working out for you? I think you're doing pretty well.
Not for me, for the country.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
You could be the savior, be the voice of Syria, dude.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's how it works. Yeah.
You don't know politics, man. You just go over there and say, I'm here.
Yeah, not sure that's how dictatorships
Sammy's
work.
here.
Yeah.
But it would be funny if you were this big revolutionary who looked like this, that was the savior for the Syrian
My people.
There you go.
Yeah, right. But actually, it's slightly more common than people think. There are a lot of fair skin. There are redheads. It's not.
In Syria.
Yeah, it's not
Really?
totally uncommon. No.
Well, because typically, like in my world, in America, when somebody sees you with red hair, they immediately go Irish. Right.
Yeah.
But what's ironic about that is when you go to the UK, most of them think you're English or Scottish because
Yeah.
most of the redheads are in England and
That's
Scotland.
right. Way more than Ireland.
Yeah, it's insane.
I find.
No,
I've
I've
been all over.
Well, Scots are
yeah.
all redheads. Like I've never met a Scottish person who doesn't have red hair. And England is littered with these people.
England's where I see them the most.
It's gross. Yeah, it's awful.
It's like almost common.
Yeah, it is too
I don't
common.
know how it was for you growing up, but for me, it was like
Not common.
I don't want to say a freak,
No, it was freak.
but like I was the only redhead, and there was one other redheaded girl, and it was like, oh, the two redheaded people in school. You know what I mean?
You guys
You're gonna get married.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
when you're
yeah.
like in grade 3, you guys are gonna get married. But
No, it was rare. I
it
was
was
a freak.
very, very rare, and especially in like entertainment, you saw no redheads.
No,
none.
well, I've talked about this on the show. The only ones they were always this. They were like Farkas from A Christmas Story, where you were a bully, or you like the angry, ugly bully with braces, or like a Sid, the kid from Toy Story. Like
Right. You were like a freaky menace of some kind.
100%, a freaky menace.
A
By the way,
freaky menace.
my next album coming out, Freaky Menace. You were this ugly freak, or
And that
you
was
were.
only children. There were no. What redheaded adult was like Ron Howard?
Yeah, but he quit when he was like a teenager. Right?
Okay.
He stopped after Happy Days. That's it. Nowadays, there's a few.
I think Seth Rogen deserves a little credit in like breaking down a bit of a wall.
He's got a little bit of some of the tinge of ginge.
I don't even think he's all that rouge, to be honest. Like
He's not. He's got tinge of ginge.
Yeah.
He's got tinge of ginge.
Tinge.
Tinge of ginge. By the way, you have Seth Rogen face.
So I get compared to him a lot, but
Yeah.
I don't really see it. But then
You do a little bit.
I guess I do a little
You
bit.
do a little bit. I get put against you on the reason that this beautiful birth happened.
Right.
I tweeted at you or I DM'd you on Instagram because the amount of times I get tagged by hardcore wrestling fans, they get tagged like, good to see Santino's in the ring this weekend. It'll be
Yeah.
your picture, just like just like wrapping someone's neck around your arm. And then at some point I was like, I got to reach out to this guy. I'm constantly getting tagged as
Yeah.
you by all these wrestling fans. And then, of course, when I had Cena on the podcast, I told him I was down to fight because I've been training with him.
Right.
And I mean it today. We're going to fight live on the show here at some
That's it.
point.
We're building to it.
Yeah.
This is going to get real confrontational, but a half hour in, and
Yeah.
then it's going to
I
devolve.
want to keep the viewers till the end of this. So the payoff is at the end. We wrestle at the end.
Yeah.
No, but I had to say something because it was in entertainment. That's the big joke is like anytime a redhead is anything, I'll get tagged
Yeah.
or I'll get.
Same.
Yeah. It's like
And
they
the funny thing is, I was going to say we look nothing alike,
Not
but
at
then
all.
as I sit here, we're dressed exactly the same with the same.
We're the
exact
same guy.
Style. Yeah,
We're the same guy.
We have the exact same style.
Yeah, but redheads, we're
Yeah.
only allowed so many colors, right? Blue, black. I'm getting away with
Right.
murder with purple.
Yeah, it was It was the first thing I noticed.
losing my
actually.
mind right
like,
now.
Wow.
But blue and black are my only colors I wear. I'll throw in a splash of this because I know it's a
Yeah.
one thing and then you're good.
Uh-huh.
One color can pop. But we can't wear orange. We can't wear yellow. We can't wear red. We can't wear.
I wore a red T-shirt the other day, and
You're
I
off
felt,
your head.
oh my god,
You're a psychopath.
Yeah.
You look like a road cone. Slow down. You're losing your mind.
Is it maybe because we got older? I feel like I wore more colorful clothing as a younger person.
Yeah, but also, how old are you now?
I'm 38.
Yeah, we're almost the same age.
Uh-huh.
Because we grew up in the late 80s and the early 90s. That colors
Yeah.
were cool. Everything was bright and
Yeah.
fun. And then we realized, I don't want to be made fun of this much. Let's tone it down. And then you become a teen and you want to feel cool. So you'll wear colors that don't make you look as
Yeah.
bright as you already are. I mean, look at how bright we were.
Yeah. I'm
Not
trying to think
in the
about
mind, just in the face and body. Although you
You know-
seem like a bright guy.
it. Do I?
Yeah.
You know, part of another thing that I like about the opportunity that this presents, this podcast, is
Yeah.
I know almost nothing about you.
That's good. Same.
And you know almost nothing about me.
It's perfect.
Which is great. So it's like an actual conversation of getting to meet someone and know
For the
someone.
real-
And it's
I know. I said
right.
we have to do this, and it just so happened that you came into town because you're. Well, I mean, this will air when this is over, so people want to know why you're here. He's getting married in town to someone at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
He's marrying one of his competitors. We can't. You'll have to see
Yeah.
who he ends up marrying.
Again, wait for the payoff on that
yeah,
one.
it's going to be
Yeah.
huge. But no, you're in town. WrestleMania not downtown. It's at Inglewood, right? It's
Yeah,
at
the SoFi Stadium.
yeah. SoFi, incredible. That's ridiculous. Have you been inside of there before?
No, it's pretty new, right? It's less than a year
brand
old.
new. It's
Yeah.
2 years old. It's a baby. It's beautiful. It's the best football stadium
Wow.
I've ever been to in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Well, because it's the belle of the ball. It's the new darling in town. You know.
Well, so I'm excited for it for a number of reasons, but One of it is LA, even though I've never lived here, I first started coming here for shows in like the end of 2004. And I've always been in love with it.
Yeah.
But it was such an important place for me to, it's really where I made my name, actually. I was wrestling out here every month for like 8 years before I got signed with WWE. So it just has a really special place in my heart, and I love the city. And now to be coming back for this really huge event here, I don't know, it's like a weird full circle moment. You know
it's
what I mean?
huge.
Huge, pretty huge.
What were you doing for 8 years? What were you wrestling?
I was
on?
wrestling for a smaller, but it's still around, and it's still massively influential. If you look at the amount of talent that's gone through that promotion, it's a place called Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, small, independent, like punk style, 400 crazy fans type of a place.
Yeah. Cult fans.
Yeah, like real hardcores. And just those shows would kind of circulate on DVD and all that stuff. And that's kind of how you got, we were talking right before this started about how crazy, how things are changing so fast, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago where, so the first time I got booked for a really big independent company in the States, I gave them a VHS tape as my resume.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing. Like, hey, give them an 8x10, a VHS, and like your mailing address and whatever, and send out tapes. And that's how you used to get booked.
Wow.
And that wasn't that long ago. I'm not that old.
Right. No, that's the same. Yeah,
That's
same.
just in my lifetime. That's in
Right.
not even my lifetime, my career.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just insane how fast all these things are changing. But
we had to do that in stand-up. Same thing. Back then we had to. It wasn't VHS. It was like when someone's like, can you show them a tape? When I first came out here, when people were getting tapes, you had to get physical, like those Hi-8 tapes or whatever, the little baby tapes.
mini DVs.
Yeah, the
Did
mini
you have
DVs, mini
back then?
DVs. Yeah. And get a little camcorder, a handy cam or whatever, and
film
film
with-
your set.
was it like a 5-minute set, a short set?
Back then, when you first start, you need 5 minutes to
Right.
for them to even see if you can get on
Right.
Conan or The Tonight Show, or even like for a booker, if you were trying to get on at a club, at a C room or D room, which means, you start out at these C rooms,
Right.
they're, usually podunk nowhere, and, it's like 20 people maybe are there. Obviously, they don't know who you are. You're just playing a show. And you'd sometimes have to send tapes to these people, and
it was like en masse, right? So like you'd get almost like a contact list or something from somebody, and you just send maybe 4 or 5 tapes, all
with
these
your
different
phone number on it,
Yeah,
your
right,
address,
right,
and you would
right.
literally mail it to
yeah.
the club or the promoter, or sometimes if you got lucky, a friend of a friend would be like, dude, I have the contact for the
Yes.
guy, I'll give him your tape, or I'll tell him about you, and then that merge this world of like underground shifting around your tape to people who could get you a gig in Bozeman, Montana.
Right.
And you drive up there, you'd lose money, 100% lose money.
Man, the parallels in the business are so, I don't know. I know you had seen on it. I only heard clips of it, but
he sucks, by the way. John Cena, you stink.
No.
No.
come on now.
No, but there is so many.
The parallels are staggering.
It's uncanny. Well, also because him, he was saying, and I want to hear from you too, like at his beginnings, he was trying to get a job working for Cybex or Life Fitness or one of these companies that made fitness equipment. And that was like the beginning of his, I would say beginning of his young career as a young adult, was trying to figure out how to get to the next thing. And I was telling him, I was like, dude, you doing the hustle to get to the next thing was me doing day jobs or restaurant jobs in our business. Is like every comic works a shitty day job.
Yeah, right.
And they know they have to get a job that lets them off at 6 p.m. at the latest so they can get to the open mic and get to the next mic. And
there reaches a point where you're like, wait a minute. I'm making $130 a week. I can do this for a living now. Yeah. I don't need that job
anymore. Can I buy
anymore.
a Ferrari with this money?
Yeah.
Did you have shitty jobs when you were wrestling? Did you had to supplement your?
I had
life?
2, I think. So the grocery store was probably the bigger one. That was
Which
like
one?
my
Shout out.
Oh, small local Greek-owned place.
Okay.
Yeah, Grand Marché Colfax in Laval. If you're watching,
shout out to Laval, Quebec.
Laval, Quebec, right? And then like I actually once worked as a seasonal worker for Toys R Us.
What does that even mean?
Like, for Christmas they get crazy.
Right.
So
right.
I got hired for like a month. They let me go fast because it was an interesting world because so as an Arab and working for Greeks, like I didn't really have a set time when I was supposed to come in. It was like, I think 9, but I'd show up around 10:30.
You just work Wednesday.
Like I just kind of,
Yeah.
I worked Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday. Like it wasn't really clear what the parameters were.
It's kind of great.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like it was
Yeah.
a perfect fit, you know?
Right.
And then at Toys R Us, that's like kind of my first taste of like working for, I mean, like French Canadian Quebecers who have certain
Corporate structure.
Like corporate structure, and like
Yeah.
9 means 9. I'd
Right.
show up at 9:05 thinking I'm on time. They're like, "What are you doing?"
You're like, I'm here.
I'm
I made
early,
it.
bro.
Yeah, dude. I was not going to come.
Yeah,
You know, I just was going to bail on this whole thing. You're lucky I showed
Yeah.
up.
I got like go pretty fast from that one. That's about it.
Then you got into it, huh?
Well, actually, I did telemarketing for a minute too, and then what was the first year I really started making? I think because I used to write down all the money I would make.
You kept the books.
Well, I would just be. It wasn't like a bookkeeping for tax purposes type thing. It was just like, oh, I did this match on this date for this company, and I got paid. I remember like when that pay went from $20 to $50, I was like, whoa. And when the first time I got offered $100,
Holy shit.
I was like, I'm getting paid $100 to go to the States
Yeah.
to wrestle. Like it was mind blowing. So then I think the first year was maybe 2008. So I'm only for me, it was only at the time. I'm like, I'm 6 years into the business and I'm making 20 grand a year. That's it. I don't need any other job. That's it.
Yeah.
This is my living now.
Yeah.
And then, I've been very lucky in a lot of ways, but like 20 turned into like 40 the next year, which turned into 50. And
Right.
over time, like, it's just gone up, which is great. And it continues to go up, thankfully. But
What was your pay on your very first gig?
0.
What was your first paid gig?
$20.
$20.
Yeah. I can actually tell you the first year in the business, I made $240. And that's because I made $20 once a month. So it was very easy to calculate.
Yeah.
Um,
Didn't have to file, did you? Yeah.
No, I
filing
didn't even have to. Yeah,
Yeah,
never
yeah.
mind lying on taxes. Like, you
Yeah.
just didn't even have to file them.
Didn't exist. And you got paid cash too.
Yeah, of
So
course.
that didn't exist.
Yeah. Man, that's wild.
Was there a moment in your career then when you made a leap to like to like a check that was like, holy shit, this is like a life-changing leap? Because in comedy, we kind of know.
There's a couple of moments like that. So there was one, I remember the first time, so when I signed for WWE, I actually took a pay cut because it's like, okay, you're signing for WWE. It's like the opportunity to make money in a sense.
Sure. Yeah, I get that.
I think my last year on the independents, I'm throwing all these numbers out willy-nilly, but whatever.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, it's
I think I was like, at the time, right after I left the independents kind of blew up where guys were suddenly making 6 figures who were like just starting to make good names for themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was like a big indie boom
Sure.
right after I left. So I think my last year on the independents, I made somewhere around 100,000, and I signed my first WWE contract for 39,000.
Yeah, because they're
Because it's just it's developmental now, but then
Right.
eventually you'll make good money, which is what happened. But
sure.
so I wasn't too nearsighted about it, thinking like, oh, I'm worth so much more. Like you kind of understand when to take it on the chin and when you'll make it up.
Yeah.
Right. I think anyway.
No, it's true.
But money was like, man, I don't know. I'll tell you all about money and wrestling and all that stuff in a minute. But all this to say, I got pretty lucky again, even when I signed with WWE, because even though I'd already been working for 10 or 11 years, they put you through their developmental program,
Wow.
which is called NXT. And I did very well, very quick. So within about 8 months, which is unheard of at the time, because they usually take 2 or 3 years before they start sending you to do stuff. So within about 8 months, they started sending me on the road to do road loops, which are like, Friday in Brooklyn, Saturday in Newark, whatever, like a loop, a little tour, mini tour, a 4-day loop. And I remember like 39, or at that point, maybe I was making 50 grand a year or something. But then that first check came in for that road loop. And I opened it and it was like 6 or 7 grand or something.
Wow.
And I had this like light bulb moment, like, oh my God, that's right. I'm here to make money. Because I've never actually, I know this is super cliche.
I never even thought about money.
Dude, I'm telling you, I know it sounds so cliche, that whole thing about when you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. Money has always been such it's so not why I do this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoy having it versus not having it.
Yeah.
As most people would,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
though I do carry a lot of guilt for money, but that's a whole other conversation. We can get into that later if you want.
Yeah. Are you sure you're not Irish?
Yeah. Well, I was brought up Muslim, so it's like, there's a lot of,
a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame.
But you know what? I'm actually pro-shame.
Yeah, pro-shame.
I'm pro-shame.
You should feel a little bit bad about your success.
Yes.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
you should.
Like humility bordering on shame. That's like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Not too much to where, you hate yourself and you hate life.
I tend to lift a little bit more shame than humility. I like to really slather on the shame some nights and really get sad about it.
I try to walk the line, man.
Good for you,
I try to walk the line. But
Show me your ways.
You need it. You need it so that you're not a cocky asshole who loses perspective. Like a little bit of shame is a good thing.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Yeah.
But we'll circle back to that in a minute. Where was I going with all this money talk?
But when you got that first check, you realized.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, that's right. There's a possibility of making like really good money here one day.
Right.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
But that's not really why I'm here. I'm just chasing the blueprint.
Right.
You start here and you get there and one day you get on the big stage and that's just the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what you do. And it's like chasing. I don't even know what you're chasing, to be honest.
What are you chasing?
Well, I don't know. I say that now because I'm at the pinnacle of it in a way where I'm like, yeah, what are we even doing here? But like, I don't know. You're chasing where I'm at right now, which is to be on television every week, doing your art on the highest level for the highest emotional, connection you're doing your best for the best.
Yeah.
And getting the best out of it.
Are you full? Do you feel full?
In which way?
Satisfaction from the career? Like it's full.
Absolutely full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're hungry for more just because you want to continue, but you feel like fully satisfied with your.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm hungry for yes.
Yeah.
I'm hungry for more, but within reason. Like I try not to let it anyway. Every now and again, some shallow stuff, you contend with that a little bit, right?
Yeah,
like you get caught up in the BS and you're on the hamster wheel and you get, tunnel vision sometimes. But really, I just see the whole thing as a privilege.
Yeah.
And like, if it ended tomorrow, I'd be like, hey man,
good run. Good run.
Good run. Like
Good
I got to do
run.
more than most people get to ever do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Let's say it ends tomorrow, which it won't.
Yeah.
Where does Sami
Knock on
Zayn
wood.
go?
Where
do you go?
Me as a human?
Yeah, where do you go?
Just home.
Back to Quebec.
Yeah, home. I don't know. I don't think that far ahead.
That's good.
Yeah.
Think right now.
I never have.
Yeah.
Like even making it to WWE, in theory, when you're starting, it seems like Mount Everest. It seems like an unattainable, goal. I suppose you want to call it a dream, but a goal as well. So you kind of just preoccupy yourself with the immediate goals, like getting booked in Montana or wherever it is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you have these immediate goals and they're so satisfying and they lead to these slightly bigger goals. And it's just this incremental growth.
Yeah.
But if you enjoy it on the process along the way and you're not just fixated on getting to the peak, then the whole thing's just going to rule, know? Right. And it has. That's my thing. Is the whole thing's ruled.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you feel the same way about your journey?
No, I mean that's I like to hear you say. Well, it's just because our rat race is different than your rat race. Like the thing that is when you kept the blueprint, you used that phrase twice, and what's funny is for us there is none, and what's tough is.
But hang on, it's that blueprint's antiquated because there are new ways now. Like there's people in NXT now and the WWE developmental. They're signing people fresh out of college who are track athletes or amateur wrestlers. They'll just sign whoever. You're 19, you're a great athlete. We think you have potential.
Come on in.
Come do a tryout. Some of them don't even know what wrestling is.
Wow,
it's wild. So it could just be who was it? Keanu Reeves. I don't know who. Maybe it's Keanu Reeves. Maybe I'm making this up. It's some dude just shows up to LA in the 70s, wow, you're handsome. Want to be in a movie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That sounds
stuff,
right.
Sure.
Yeah.
That stuff happens too.
Yeah.
But there are other people who are the grind and, the lessons.
We're all grinding. How we get there is usually extremely different. That's what's so wild. But what we share is, yes, it is this once I guess to answer your original question, once I realized that I could make a career out of comedy, and that encapsulates a lot of stuff. I wanted to do television, I want to do film, I wanted to write, I wanted to do this. Once I realized that a while ago, it felt great. Yes, I get bummed about shit. I get down on myself about this or that, and this isn't going as well, or why isn't this? And man, I should. But yeah, for the most part, I feel super stoked and full. And to quote you, yeah, it's been rad. It's been super rad. And if it all went away, still rad. It was still really, really cool. I was still happy I got to make people laugh and feel good for so many years.
Let me tell you, I saw this. So I'm a big Bob Dylan fan, right?
Yeah.
I've been telling people, I'm actually wearing this shirt right now. Look at that.
Take off your jacket.
Yeah.
Show me off.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You use that ever?
Yeah. No, but I should do some Babo. Do some Babo.
Yeah. You know what I was also thinking is like, if 20-year-olds came to your show, they'd be like, who is this? What is this impression? Who's this guy?
Yeah, who's that man?
Because like,
He's transcended. People know Bob Dylan. I think.
Well, you probably heard of him, but so remember there was man, I think I have ADD because I'm all over the map.
I
here.
do too.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's severe.
There was a whole thing about a couple of years ago where like Billie Eilish didn't know Van Halen. Do you remember that?
I remember this. Yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah, well that kind of makes sense. She was like 19 at the time, and Van
Also,
Halen was big in the 70s.
Van Halen doesn't know Billie Eilish. So
Oh, there you go. I mean,
You know what I mean?
I hadn't heard of her until that. That's
Right,
how I
so there
heard
you
who she
go.
was.
Yeah, there you go.
But then I'm thinking, well, damn, if you're 20 years old now, you might not have even heard of the Beatles, to be honest.
Maybe, but that's the biggest band in the world.
I know.
I would
but
say they might
you
not
might
know
have
if you
heard of them, but you might
Right.
have never like gone through your friends' parents' records and they had Yellow Submarine, like the way
Right.
we kind of
the
probably
way we
did.
saw them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when they were done their run and we were kids, they'd only been done about 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
Like that's how old California Love is now.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Ah, that's creepy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
creepy, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. How did I get on this subject? Oh, so Bob Dylan. I've actually been telling this story to a bunch of people recently because it's just been stuck in my mind. And there's this one line that I don't know, so it just had a profound effect on me, right? So he's getting interviewed. I don't even know what the show is. It's just some clip that came across my timeline. And the guy's asking him about the songs he wrote in the 60s because those are just like, unbelievable songs that stand test of time, just unbelievable. And he says something about like those songs, they're almost magically written. Like you could never write something like that now.
Yeah.
He goes, wait, you don't think you could write something like that now? And he's like, no. But I did once,
Yeah.
and I can do other things now, but I can't do that.
Yeah, that already happened.
And that line, well, I did it once.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn. Wow.
Yeah.
I did it once. Like, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, I did it.
Dude, he wrote Mr. Tambourine Man.
Yeah.
Like, just because you can't write that song for the next 60 years, you got to write that song once.
Pretty great.
If you get to do one thing that has that kind of effect, one thing on its own, you've accomplished more than,
Everybody.
that's what, yeah, if you're a songwriter, man, like what more could you ask for?
Right.
Let alone to have a career that spans 60 years or whatever it is, 70 years at this point. I don't know what it is for this guy. But so to me, that's kind of how I view a lot of things. Like, well, I got to do that once.
Yeah. Well, because most people, we want an embarrassment of riches. We're preoccupied with the idea that we want a million successes. Having one seems like it's not enough. That tends to happen.
So yes,
Culturally,
yes, like
we tend to just want so
maximum
many.
growth.
Yeah.
Like infinite growth.
Yeah, we're all what's that guy? What's the guy I make fun of him all the time on this show? That small guy who cusses a lot, Gary V. Who's like, get the fuck out there and sell your fucking shit and da-da-da. They like this new age philosopher of like, fuck it, man, fucking take on the world and just get more and keep growing and keep going and da-da-da and don't stop and keep grinding. It's infused into culture, this thing about like it's never enough.
Well, and you're touching on something that's important there, like culture,
Yeah.
which means it's not inherent.
No, it's,
this
it's
is
societal
taught.
built.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. So like once you start to pick that apart, you can like reject it as you please.
Well.
You're like, oh, so this is just this thing that was taught to me. It's not an inherent human law
Right.
that we must like achieve as much as we can and destroy whatever's in our path.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That is a value that is culturally taught. And, I think there's economic components, capitalism and all this sort of thing that colors the way we view everything because that is very capitalistic, right? Like maximum growth at all expenses.
Yeah.
Right? Like what about the environment? It doesn't matter. More
Fuck
money.
it.
Yeah. More money. Shareholders.
We'll buy a new
yeah.
environment.
Right. So I think that ends up coloring the way we view the entire world,
Yeah.
even things that we just don't think of it, but even our little chase to success in comedy or wrestling or whatever it is, or even the idea of success. And we can get into a whole thing here about like, why are we drawn to these things to begin with? Because we're kind of taught like it. So like being an entertainer has a disproportionate social currency. Don't you think?
Yes, very much. It
Like,
does.
who are you, man?
I have no idea.
Who am I? Like,
I don't
what,
know.
what is it about us that makes it worth listening to? Like, it's silly in a sense.
Well, we're better than all of you, and you better remember that at home.
Well, we
No,
are.
no, Sammy,
well,
let me
hang on,
tell
no,
them
no.
how it is.
But we are
No.
if
No.
society tells you that we are.
No.
If you're like, hang on. These people do something that we have said is important. Entertainment.
Yeah.
And that's important. So listen to what these people have to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand.
So that's kind of interesting. And that's a whole other conversation.
But
But,
what gives weight to that is that we enjoy entertaining, and most people don't want to be entertainers, but they want to be entertained. So we fill a little gap in this world of people want to receive stuff and feel different and think about shit and criticize stuff, but they don't want to be the ones to do it. We're the ones either dumb enough or brave enough or, you know, or blessed enough to be able to be the ones that are on the other side of it.
so I think maybe it's a combination of delusion.
Yeah. Yes. We're delusional.
A missing screw in your head,
Sociopaths.
an inflated sense of
self-worth.
self-value.
Yeah.
Self-worth.
Yeah.
Um,
We're pieces of shit.
well, no, but I'm not saying these are bad things
No.
necessarily on their own, but coupled with a society that tells us, well, that's what's important.
Right. With a skill set, though. You have to have a skill to present, right? If you weren't good at your gig, this wouldn't exist anyway. So all this other stuff wouldn't be.
I'm saying this from a really weird position, which is someone who wanted this thing and then got it.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I'm getting at is like, if we have a society that teaches people like, unless you do this thing that is of value. So basically, unless you're rich or unless you're famous, you're kind of worth nothing. And our society kind of weirdly does tell people that, not so many words.
Right.
Well, then you have like, I don't know, 1,000 entertainers and like 10,000 rich people, and then just millions and millions and millions of people who feel like they're lesser than because they're not either of those things.
Dangerous.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Unless
Right?
unless you reject the social bullshit, like you said, and
Yeah.
you just get comfortable with the things that you have, that you like, that you enjoy. That you say, fuck
Yeah,
that
but I don't
idea.
think we're really taught. Like, I don't think we're really taught to. I don't know. We're not really taught to think on that level.
What do you think most people are taught to feel and think then about that? That you need to achieve to be worth it?
Well, so I don't think they consciously think, hey, maybe the reason I think I'm so depressed all the time, or I'm anxious all the time, or all these things that I think everyday working people feel. Like, I don't know if the connection is necessarily made. It's because like, oh, because I'm not rich and famous, and society told me that only rich and famous people are worth anything.
Right.
Like, I just don't think that connection is made.
But there's a high faction of people who don't give a fuck about fame or wealth. I would say that there's a lot more people that are like, I don't fucking want to be famous, and I don't need to be rich, that I do my thing and I like what I am. Now, I do think that society does have this trick that it plays on the youth, that because of the internet, you need to be one of these things, otherwise you aren't worth something. But I think there's many more people on the globe that don't feel that way, that just are like, I don't need to be fucking rich or famous. I would not want that at all anyway. I like this thing that I am, that I'm doing. That's what I'm saying about being full. I think there's a lot of people that are full that don't need the other thing that you're talking about. That they just don't need it. It just doesn't hit them.
You know, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe I was approaching this in a much more glass half empty kind of way.
I'm full, baby.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying I'm looking at the negative part
I
of it,
know.
but you're looking at all the people that just don't care about it.
They don't give a fuck.
But I'm saying, especially in this generation coming up where like you need a following and you need a this
Internet
and
is
you need
king.
a that,
Yeah.
right? And that sort of thing. And like social clout and currency is becoming more and more of a prevalent thing, that I can only assume that once you don't have it, that will affect you in a stronger way than it, than maybe it would have 30 or 40 years ago when there was less emphasis put on that.
In here, we pour whiskey.
Hey, I created my own site a long time ago using Squarespace, one of the most efficient, beautiful, delicious ways to create your own site. I don't know what you do out there while you're listening to me, but maybe you're a yoga instructor, maybe you're a Pilates teacher, maybe you're an artist, maybe you're a musician, and you need a site, okay? And if you need a site, you need to build it on Squarespace because they have everything that you've ever wanted to create a beautiful, wonderful website for people to see, enjoy, and find out more about you and what you're selling. They have appointment scheduling. If you're looking to create a calendar, let's say you're a fitness instructor and you're trying to create a beautiful calendar for people to use to know when your classes are or when to sign up and reschedule. They also have a video studio, which I've used and I love to create these pro-level videos. And by the way, the email campaigns and all your connected social media accounts in one spot makes it so easy to connect with your fans or your customers to make your business grow and grow online. The analytics is my favorite. I've talked about this every time with Squarespace because you can use the insights to grow your business. You can learn where these site visits and clicks are coming from and analyze which channels are the most effective. So by doing this, I can find out where I'm coming in your city and where you're going to be by how many people engage with traffic online with my site. And that helps me out sell tickets to get to your town to make you laugh and chuckle. So if you're looking to create your own site, you got to get to Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com/whiskey for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, use the offer code WHISKEY to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Once again, head to squarespace.com/whiskey for a free trial when you're ready to launch. Use the offer code WHISKEY to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Squarespace, baby. Hey, I recently went to a Dodger game to go see those boys over in Chavez Ravine, and I wanted last-minute ticket deals, so I used GameTime. GameTime is incredible. Forget planning months in advance. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and much, much more. The GameTime guarantee means you're always going to get the best price, okay? If you find tickets in the same section and that row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference, okay? What more do you want to know? They are going to fight to find you the best price by far for tickets. Tickets are overpriced, they're expensive, they're ridiculous. Taking a family to a game right now seems insane, but don't plan it far in advance. Don't book a ticket for a vacation 3 months in advance like your dad used to back when you were kids. Now with GameTime, you book a ticket to the game so close to the game so you get the best deals. Get images of your seat right before you buy. You know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps, bop, bop, and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone. You're never going to have to dig through your email, okay? Snag the tickets without the stress with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code WHISKEY for $20 off your first purchase. Why not? Go see a game. Go have fun. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code WHISKEY for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Ginger. I like gingers.
Well, I'll give you some soothsaying. I do predict that in the next decade to come, that will be flipped on its head. I do think because of the oversaturation of the internet and the idea that people want to be big on the internet or known or famous or seen.
The pendulum will swing the other way.
100%. I think it'll be
the cool thing to be will be to reject
off the
it
internet.
all.
100%. I believe it. In the next 10 years, you will see a complete exodus from big, massive chunks of social media because people will not want to have so much of their engagement pushed onto the internet because it's affecting everyone's future now that kids can't get into school if they see what your Instagram looks like because they're afraid about seeing you party with a friend that you put up 6 years ago or something like that. And I think that this big swing will go away. A new thing will take its place.
Nah,
Trust
something
me.
always fills that void.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
But in the meantime, it's chaos.
Yeah.
But all we can do as entertainers is try our best to have fun while we're here writing that one song.
Do it once.
Yeah, fucking A.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I've gotten to do a lot of things once.
And you're going to keep doing a lot of them.
Yeah. So I guess like what I'm saying is when you get old, real old, right?
What's real old?
Like, I don't know, in your 80s, like late in life.
I've got 4 listeners that are 89, so be careful.
I'm sure they're aware they're older. You know what I mean? Like,
can you imagine?
Yeah. Did he just say I'm old?
What?
Yeah.
Fuck Sami Zayn.
I'm saying one day, you're just going to be like an old guy who did something once.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's cool.
I'm saying that's all you should take. Like, that's how you should look at it. It shouldn't be like, well, it won't matter whether you did 10 TV shows or you did 1 TV show.
Sure.
Or if I don't know.
But it depends on what you want. If you want to do 10 TV shows, good, great.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's not, I'm saying it all comes out in the wash on a long enough timeline. Where like when you're looking back retrospectively and, you're 80 or whatever it is, you're like, or you're talking to your grandkids, Grandpa was a comic once. And like 30 years of your life are boiled into that one sentence.
That's right.
Because you're not going to tell them about gigs in Montana and the TV show. Like, you're going to summarize it in one sentence.
Unless Grandpa's been drinking. Then I'm going to pull over a chair. Let me tell you about Montana.
You know what I'm saying? Like, in summary, I was a comic once.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is like, I kind of tried to look at it as just like, this is this really amazing thing I get to do. And I just can't believe I've been doing it for so long and that I've enjoyed it this entire time. And that somehow I continue every year of my career, literally, since I finished my first year in, once I did my second year, as my third year was beginning, I go, well, there's no way I'm going to top that.
Yeah, I'm done.
And literally every single year has been better than the last.
Wow.
Like,
I hope that continues for you.
Somehow, well, I mean, WrestleMania is in like 2 days and I've
I
got
know.
one of the biggest matches. It's crazy.
That's nuts.
So somehow that's happened. And I attribute it a lot to luck, to be honest. I mean, I worked hard. If you're listening to this, I'm doing air quotes right now, but like I worked hard, sure, whatever. But like people work harder.
A lot of people work hard.
Way harder.
Yeah.
At way more difficult things.
Yeah.
I don't know. So like I think luck is pretty big in the equation.
Well, I'm glad you got it.
Like
That's 'cause
luck
you
of the Irish.
looked Irish,
Luck
yeah.
of the guys who look Irish. Yeah.
Yeah, it must be the luck of the guy who looks Irish.
Right, because the luck of the Irish is actually bad luck.
It's terrible luck.
Right?
What do you mean? 1 million of these people
That's the
died
expression.
because potatoes got AIDS.
Right.
It's like
the expression luck of the Irish means you have bad luck.
100%. You have shitty luck.
Yes.
Yeah.
So luck of the guy who looks Irish is like,
I don't know.
that guy's
man.
got it.
He's got it.
Yeah. He got the gift.
Did you grow up idolizing wrestling or no?
Yeah.
You did. You were
Yeah.
obsessed as a kid? Because I've talked
Yeah.
to some guys that wasn't like, same thing in our world. There's comics that they like comedy, but they weren't obsessed with stand-up when they were a kid.
I always wanted to be a comic, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, you
like
picked,
it's all
picked
just
the right one, huh?
I mean, it's like it's just the same thing. It's like spectacle and performance.
Entertainment.
And it's the same.
But you're actually a clown who's in shape. So that's a big difference.
Well, but
we don't have to be in shape to be clowns. You have to be in shape clowns.
So I remember,
buff clowns is going to
there
be what
was
I call wrestling.
I remember having this thought. I don't know why this thought is tattooed into my head. I remember maybe it was like 2010 or 11. I barely used to work out when I was on the independents because like your physique wasn't as important
right.
on the independents. So I just didn't work out that hard.
What are we talking, like twice a week?
Yeah, and like there'd be times I'd just go months without working out even.
Holy shit, that's
like,
wild.
but I was scrawny and it was like I was still getting cheered anyway.
Right.
And it's just like the part of the allure of that act was that I was kind of a scrawnier guy.
Right.
So that's like, I don't know. I think comedy, I think this is actually maybe there's a reach and I'm trying to create an overlap that may not be there, but I think there's an inherent sense of self-awareness that, that comics can play off, or like a good performer will play off. It's like, hey, I understand what you see and I'm going to exploit that.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm going to use it to my benefit.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, you can't be a 300-pound fat guy and be out there and like, I'm not fat.
What are you guys looking at?
Well, like the 200 people in this room see a big fat guy. Yeah. Like you can't go out there and be self-conscious, be like, well, I'm not really that fat. It really just depends on the angle you look. Like, hang on.
We got to talk
You
about
have
it.
to have the self-awareness and the presence of mind to know what people see, know what their expectations are, and therefore you can either use it, exploit it, or subvert it however you see fit.
That's just like us.
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if I've never, and I tell actually other wrestlers this who are like starting to come up now, I'm like, just assume nobody knows who you are. And that's really the key to being a pretty good wrestler, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is just assume somebody in this crowd, not somebody, because it's actually a guarantee. If you're performing in front of 8,000 people, I guarantee you at least 50 to 100 people who are there don't really watch wrestling, maybe don't even know what wrestling really is. It's like the mom of a kid or someone's aunt who came with them.
Yes.
People don't know what they're watching. Just assume aliens are here from another planet and they don't even know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Then if you assume that, then everything you do will be coherent. You can't take it for granted that they know who you are. They know your storyline.
Right.
I'm just sitting in the crowd and then you come out. I'm like, oh, here's this like redheaded comic. What's he about? And you have to kind of let me know what you're about, right?
Yeah, right away.
I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
within
it's
the
like,
first couple of minutes, they got to feel you.
yeah. You
Yeah.
got to like, So you're very aware of like, what am I presenting to these people?
Yeah.
I don't know if you still approach it this way, because obviously like you've made a name for yourself in your industry. And if someone's going to your show that you're headlining, it's fair to assume they know your act.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, like, even for me, especially because I'm on a pretty hot little run as a good guy at the moment. So even now we'll go to a live event, it'd be like, 8,000 people because houses are up right now. So I don't know, wherever, like, where were we just recently? Whatever, pick any good city.
Yeah, pick a city.
Pick a city. We're in Chicago. Okay. And then, my music will hit and I'll get this really loud, like, ovation. I'll be like, oh, wow. Wow, they really like me.
They know who I am.
Yeah, I'm like constantly surprised because I assume 0.
Right.
And then I have to work to get them to 100. But if we already start at 50, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be fish in a barrel.
Yeah,
we only
good.
got to go from 50 to 100, piece of cake. But my goal is always to get them to 100.
Right.
And to me, the key in like the craft and the whatever, the professional pride or whatever you want to call it, is just assume they don't know you. They don't know anything you're about. And you have to educate and reinforce what your act is. And then if you do that, it becomes airtight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And they can see that. They see that you're doing, you're not mailing it in. You're doing the full act. Even for those that already know you, you're still doing the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, because nothing annoys fans more than mailing in. In our world, in your world, in musicians' world, when we go see a musician who mails it in, it breaks your heart.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I like this guy so much, and I wish these people who maybe aren't as familiar could see what I've seen before. So it's like the ultimate sin is to mail it in. Is to just be like, I don't even want to be here right now. It's like, well, then
don't. A band that you really like, mail it in?
I unfortunately multiple times, and I shouldn't say that.
Are you going to name drop?
Yeah,
them
you know
or
what
not?
I will say. I will say
ahead.
it bummed me out actually, because as a kid, growing up, I loved hip hop when I was a kid. I still do. I like all forms of music, but when I was a kid, it was like my first love, and I went to see Nas one time for my birthday. My at the time girlfriend got me tickets.
How old are you here?
This is probably got to be at least 12 years ago, 10 years ago maybe. So I was, my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, and I loved Nas. Nas, I still is one of the greatest rappers of all time. Illmatic's one of my favorite albums, and we got really good tickets, and I was so excited. And we went and saw Nas, and no disrespect to him, it was just I could tell he didn't want to be there. Right? There's a myriad of reasons. He could have had a shitty day, shitty week, shitty year. I could tell he was like, fuck this. Like you could feel it. Every lyric was like labor intensive. He didn't really kind of move. He was stagnant. He wasn't really into it at all. And it broke my heart. Now, only as a performer did I give him the benefit of the doubt, because I've had days where I'm super bummed. I don't want to fucking perform. I don't want to fly all the way to St. Paul, then all the way to Louisville, then all the way to Jersey, then all the way. There's days where you're like, I don't want to do this, man. I would just want to go home. I'm tired. And you have to fight to not let that seep into your shit. But I gave him the benefit because I thought, I don't know, man, maybe he's going through some shit. But when you see somebody mail it in, it's a bummer, because you're like, man, I love you and I know you're better than this and you know you're better than this. So it's tough.
And you feel
hard.
shortchanged.
Yeah, it's to me, it's more like and maybe this is only because we're an internal perspective because we've lived it. I immediately go to, what the fuck is going on with him?
Right. We're looking for the behind the scenes aspect.
What's going
of,
on?
What is affecting this performance?
Right.
Here's a question. Do you think the other people in the crowd that night felt it?
I think not as many as maybe me, because I was so invested in it, because I wanted to feel him and see him do his thing. But I think, I would say probably.
I wonder about that.
Well, here's the difference. Everyone there was a Nas fan. He is an old enough act now where no one's slipping into that show like, who is this again?
Right.
That's not happening.
Right.
So everyone was a fan and everyone was kind of vibing, so people liked it. But I would imagine, let's just say 25% of me's were in the room, where 75 probably were like, it's great, I'm in Vegas, I'm drunk, who cares? I was like an intensive fan who was like, oh man.
This is another case of me perhaps being too close to it. But I maybe I even give people too much of the benefit of the doubt on this one, which could be a gift and a curse. I don't know. But like, I assume that even the 75% of people, I think to an extent still feel it.
Yeah, they might.
Because I think so. Wrestling's a very funny thing because, and I'm sure comedy, again, there's got to be an overlap here, but wrestling's a very interesting thing where, like, even if you have fans that are not super smart to the business, it kind of like, I feel like humans in general, it teaches you about a human quality, which is this innate ability to suss out phoniness.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a human survival mechanism. So
Totally.
I think even like, and I'm, not to hand wave people here, but even stupid people can sense when something's phony.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be smart to know somebody's a phony or a liar.
Of course.
Like you're just like,
This seems.
I'm not,
this
I'm
seems
not
off.
buying this.
Yeah.
So like in wrestling, that's why it's so hard sometimes to really get it right sometimes, because if you're trying something that's not you, fans will kind of suss it out.
Oh yeah.
Because like it just doesn't click. And maybe they can't articulate it. Maybe you can't articulate it because you're still trying to, figure it out. But it ain't working.
Yeah.
And the reason is like it's an unspoken thing. And again, maybe they can't even articulate it. But it's like, I'm just not buying it. Like, this ain't real.
Everybody feels it.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if those 75% on some level weren't just like, I don't know, it was all right.
Yeah, maybe.
I really don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but I do think that I do think that it's obvious when you mail it in or bail as a performer. It's obvious to performers more than ever.
Yeah.
So I always have this. It's tough because we already have the perspective. So I'm always kind of nitpicking when I see live performances, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
If I saw you, if I saw a musician, if I saw, you know what I mean? Like if I saw another
Can't
comic.
help but have your performer goggles on.
Sucks.
It's very
It
hard to take
sucks.
off completely.
It sucks. I wish I didn't. But like, have you ever had a match where you were exhausted or you had something else personal going on in your life where you mailed it in or bailed on it and you felt bad about it? Or have you just done it no matter what, how shitty the gig is, no matter where it is, no matter when it is, you barreled through.
So this is, again, maybe like a lucky, I don't know how I have this mindset. I just kind of do. I don't think I've ever really had that ever.
That's great.
Even if I'm like dragging my ass or I'm tired or whatever, I really can't think of a single show I've ever done. And I'm talking like ever, even like bad ones where you kind of, I think it's because I've always seen every show as like a, what's the word I'm looking for? So, okay, I'll give you an example. On the independents, you had these kind of bigger independent shows that had DVD circulation or, they had buzz. And like they would get talked about on message boards and pre-Twitter and all that.
Yeah.
And it's like you had good matches at those promotions and it created your buzz. And then based off the buzz you created there, you'd get booked on smaller promotions.
Right.
So when you were working smaller, like the bigger indies, the pressure was on to deliver the goods.
Right.
But then when you had that buzz and a small indie was bringing you out, I felt pressure to deliver the goods because my reputation from that last show was on the line for this show. Like I can't go out there, tear the house down on this show. So you're like, wow, I want that guy, bring you over and then give you a half-assed performance. So I always feel like I have to live up to something.
Yeah.
And I've always viewed every show as like, I don't know if challenge is the right word, but it's something I have to live up to. Like my name is on the line here. God damn it.
Yeah.
Like I can't just go out there and my name's on the line.
It's
I feel
true.
like my name's on the line every night.
Well, because you're only as good as your last performance. That's what they always say. Like you're only as good as the last person that saw you do it that one time.
I hear that, and maybe that is my mindset, even though I hate that expression.
But it's so true. If I came to see you one time, if I came to see WrestleMania once, and you put on a pretty shitty show, that's the way I would remember you. I'm not going to look at all the times that I'm not going to go back and look at your resume and go, yeah, but these were good shows. That's the problem with live performance is they're going to remember that last time they saw you.
Yeah.
I know it's a shitty expression, but it's unbelievably true.
I guess what I'm saying is I almost put maybe too much importance on every performance.
Well, that's good. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, maybe. maybe. I mean,
maybe.
it's worked out for me.
Yeah.
But there are times when other wrestlers are like, dude, it's just a Sunday in Topeka.
No, it's not.
You know what
it's
I mean?
everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's everything. It is everything.
It is.
It is everything because to the person in the crowd, that's the goal is for a moment in time, nothing else exists.
Right.
We're locked in here, right? We're locked in together.
You're-
So for a moment, it is everything. It's
Right.
everything to me and it's everything to you. right?
Yes.
I don't know if I'm getting too like idealistic here
No,
with this
no,
stuff,
it's
but
true.
like that's why we're here,
Yeah.
for it to be everything. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
If it's not, what are we even doing here?
It's a waste of all
You
of
want
our
me to
time.
go out there and like be doing the thing, but also be thinking about, oh man, I forgot to mail in my taxes. Sue's gonna be mad. You know, like that. There's a moment in time where you get to escape all that. You, the performer, gets to go out there and escape all that and put everything into this moment.
True.
And if you do it well, then everybody who's there will be locked into that moment. And then whatever insecurities they have and whatever problems they have in their life in that moment don't exist either. And that's the beauty of what we get to do, is for a moment in time, for 20 minutes while I'm in the ring, for me and for all of you, nothing else in this world exists and nothing else matters. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's great. It is
Right?
everything.
It's everything.
It's everything.
And if it's not everything, what are we doing
What
here?
are we doing here?
Why are we even here? Again, maybe that being a little
Very deep and philosophical.
No, but maybe I'm being melodramatic about the whole thing. But to me, that
No, because it shows that you give a shit, and you caring is why you have collected a fan base. That's why people want to see you, because you care.
yeah.
If you don't care,
And I think that's another subconscious thing.
Sure.
And I think that's like a timely way to do it, because it becomes like, man, I've been watching this guy for 5 years and it's always good. Huh? You know what I
Pretty
mean?
good, man.
It takes like 5 or 6 years for it to click.
yeah,
Like, oh, wait a minute. It's not just this time or last time. It's every time.
it's every
And it's
time.
that consistency, at least in my career. There are other people who've got like I'm getting this lightning in a bottle. This last year I've had in my career has kind of been this weird lightning in a bottle type thing, where the right storyline with the right players and everything's connected. And it's somehow taken me to a really like a higher level now. And it's really funny that this lightning in the bottle moment, I got it 20 years into the business. You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's an overnight success story, you know?
Right.
It's like
the
you-
overnight success story of like
20 years.
20
Yeah.
years of this
That's
every
that's
single
literally how
time.
it works. Yeah.
Comedy's the same.
Same
for,
thing.
For some.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's somebody who walks up like, was it like Eddie Murphy was like 20 or something when he did Raw
Yeah.
or Delirious
Yeah,
or
he was a
something. I'm
child.
like, yeah.
Yeah. It happens.
There's prodigies and there's
But that's-
guys who get it quick, but then there's also guys like, Colbert or Steve Carell or even like Bryan Cranston. The guy really got
Forever.
his prime was like in his 50s.
I mean, Clooney was the same story.
right.
People know George Clooney, but he did so much whatever television forever and ever and ever until he finally hit.
Right.
It's not like he got handsome. He was always a good-looking guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was always a good-looking, cool, smooth guy. It just,
Yeah.
nobody saw it until they saw it. Then when they saw it, they were like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
look at this guy, huh?
Yeah.
Who's this overnight success?" Yeah, fucking, he's like, "I'm 44." You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck?
I love those stories.
No, but
those are my favorite.
Those are the good ones, because the
Yeah.
other ones kind of suck. You boo the guy that got it right away. That's kind of it's like, who gives a shit? You got it right away. The
Yeah.
struggle is kind of part of the fun.
The struggle is everything.
For the audience especially, because then they know the story that you built, and when you have that history, it adds more to your present.
So I think, like, again, not to get overly profound here, but like the struggle is everything, right? I wonder if the reason that resonates with the audience is because maybe on an like intrinsic level, we already know that. Like we kind of know the meaning of life without actually knowing it or being able to articulate it, which is like the struggle is the thing.
It's all the thing,
It's not the thing. It's the struggle to get to the thing.
right? Because it wouldn't be. There's no payoff. Like you said, you're this nice guy, and then there's also the dramatic heel that has to exist for you to even like the other side of it. Like it has to. The shit has to be there, because then it makes the good stuff taste better. That's just a part. Have you ever read a book called Sum? Do you know what this is? Sum,
No.
S-U-M. I highly recommend it to anybody listening. If you're curious about a conversation about life and death and what happens in the afterlife and where do we go and what does this all mean? This is kind of a comedic take on that. I've spoken about it on the show years ago, but I reread it again because I told my mom and dad about it, because we were talking about my grandmother passing away and the presence of, of life and death, and where do they go? Do people go anywhere? Is that a thing? Blah, blah, blah. And in this book, he kind of dictates amongst many stories, one of them being, would you rather have all the pain in the world, all the suffering, all the crying, all the feeling of a broken bone, all that stuff compressed into one moment, and then all of the happiness compressed into one moment? Or would you rather have it kind of sectioned off as life goes on and divvied out, where you have happy months and sad months and beautiful years and then tougher years? And everybody unequivocally picks the latter because the beauty of life is that it's this ever-changing chaos, and it is everything, because the only way you're going to appreciate the is when you have the boo. That's the only way it exists.
It's all relative.
It's 100%. You'd never know the other side, you know? You'd never know. And on that note, tell me how uncomfortable wrestling boots are, truly.
Well, mine are like tailor-made for my foot.
Yeah, but you wore shitty boots over the years for sure. There's no way you when you were starting out, were you wearing?
Yeah, when I started, I borrowed someone's boots that were a size too small, and that kind of sucked. And like wrestling boots are $400, which again I was making $20.
Are they really $400?
I think they're up, but more now.
Yeah, but I mean, that's even to me that's crazy.
That was 20 years ago. Yeah, they're costly. I mean, it's like.
How often do you have to change them?
I changed mine, so I'm a weirdo though because I've kept the same design for my boots for my entire career.
You've never changed your design?
I don't know why.
Is it laziness or is you're content with it?
It's like this weird thing where I had them for like probably 12 years. I've changed, I've had maybe 3 sets of each set lasts me about 4 or 5 years. And then at a certain point I was like, wow, I've been wearing these boots for 10 or 12 years. I'm like, I think I'll just wear them my entire career.
You made the decision.
But like I changed, I also wore like tights my whole career. And then maybe 3 years ago, I started wearing like pants. Yeah. Like a pant, not just the, spandex tights. So that changed. And I thought, well, if I'm changing my look, I should change everything. But the boots stayed.
Yeah, the boots remained. And yet the boots remained.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is. I don't know what sickness in my head is just like the boots. No, like that's the constant.
Yeah, but that's nice. That's your baseball player underwear inside out thing. That's like
maybe.
It's like your superstition, so to speak.
Maybe.
Even if you're not superstitious, we all have like a little thing.
Yeah.
We all have a little. All performers, I feel like, have a little weird thing that you keep that kind of gives you a semblance of comfort or whatever that is. Do you have a boot deal, by the way?
No.
You don't? Does anybody ever get a boot deal? Is that a thing?
I don't know about
like how basketball players have shoe deals.
No. You know what?
Why wouldn't they do that?
Because like there's not a market to sell wrestling boots.
Yeah, but just as collectibles. We're starting it here today. Santino and Zayn's wrestling boot collectibles.
SantinoBoots.com.
SantinoZaynBoots.com.
In here, we pour whiskey.
Hey, everybody poops. Get over it. We all do, and you want something that moves you right. Hey, as I get older and I sniff 40, I want to be moving every single day, and I want to be moving right. I want to feel good. And Seed has the fix. Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic supports healthy regularity, healthy motility, and ease of evacuation. Get it out of there. There's also increasing research on the gut-brain axis, which Seed is currently researching in partnership with Axial Therapeutics. All right, this capsule that they got, this capsule and capsule ViaCap safeguards viability through digestion for delivery of an average of 100% of their probiotics starting to dose to your colon. The outer capsule also serves as an elegant barrier to oxygen, moisture, and heat. No refrigeration is necessary. Come on, you can keep it right on your counter. I got to tell you, the DSO1 by Seed, their daily symbiotic has 4 specific probiotic strains that have been shown to promote healthy skin and reinforce a healthy gut-skin axis. You want to feel better on your rumba-dum-tumbly, and you want to have better skin and feel better about your insides and how they're moving around. Both your skin and your gut have similar jobs to manage what comes into your body from the outside world and then communicate and relay information back to your body's nervous, immune, and endocrine systems. And DSO1 Daily Symbiotic is an effective way to start supporting your gut microbiome while nurturing your gut-skin axis for healthy, glowing skin. How do I get this, Andrew? Start a new healthy habit today. Visit seed.com/whiskey. Use the code whiskey to redeem 25% off your first month of Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. That's seed.com/whiskey. For 25% off your first month, seed.com/whiskey. Use that code whiskey.
Ginger. I like gingers.
No, I just feel like, because as an outsider who's not a massive fan of, who I only know so much about it, I always thought, why isn't there some sort of signifying thing about the boots to the wrestler that the fans could
a lot of wrestlers don't wear boots anymore.
Yeah.
I see crazy, and I kind of don't like it because that's like the weird traditionalist part of me is like wrestling and wrestling boots.
Yeah,
sure.
Put on your boots, man.
Put on your boots. What are you
doing? Yeah, put on your boots, pal.
Yeah.
That's the
Lace
Canadian
them up,
in you. Lace up your boots, bud.
It's like that expression, oh, he's one of the best ever. Lace up a pair of boots.
Right.
But you got guys going out there in Jordans and stuff now, and I'm just like, what happened to this business?
And back in my day.
Yeah, exactly. Wrestler wanted to wear wrestling boots. I don't know. I really don't know what it is, but it's funny that I never really examined that about that. Sort of like holding on to something.
Yeah, you did.
So because I do know I have a different aspect of my life where I do that, which is my car.
Oh, you love your car.
Well, my car is a 2004 Nissan Altima.
Okay.
And I've had it for 12 years. 12 years.
And you're never going to let go of that thing.
Well, I mean, like people see me driving in it and it's like, so I was, I enjoy conversations like this. Okay.
Yeah.
I always kind of wanted to be like a barista or a cab driver. Like driving a New York, drive a cab, like, so how are things? Just have these conversations.
Sure.
I like to chat. So I was like making a joke recently about maybe I'd drive Uber just for, not because I need the money, which is, I'm grateful, to.
But just for fun.
Just for fun. I just want to drive for fun. And then I realized, oh my God, my car is probably too shitty.
Yeah, for Uber.
For Uber to even to meet Uber's guidelines.
Yeah, probably.
And I could obviously, thank God, once again, I can afford a very nice car now.
But you don't want one.
And I just want to drive my 04 Altima because I don't know. It's like the last, and I think this is it, I think it's like the last piece of not rich asshole me.
It's keeping you grounded.
It's the last piece of keeping it real.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean.
Real.
It's like this money. This car predated money, and it predated whatever success. Quote unquote success.
I see a lot of people do that though. That's a car thing is weird because for some reason there's a bunch of Zach Galifianakis. You know who that is?
Yeah,
Galifianakis for the longest time. Had an old Subaru, I think it was, or something like that. He held on to forever, and he had. I mean, hangover money. You know what I mean? What the fuck? He could have bought a spaceship and floated
around. But he
around.
held on to it.
Well, yeah, he might still have it. I don't know. I have no idea. But
so you know what's funny?
He liked it.
I had almost this exact conversation on a podcast hosted by Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's maybe the biggest wrestler of all time. Top
Probably,
5 for sure.
Yeah, probably.
And he told me he drives a 2003 Ford Focus or something.
What the fuck?
So he outdid me by a year, and it blew my mind.
We got to get you an older car. Let's get you an 01.
Because if it's exactly. If it's too old, then it's like vintage and retro and collectible.
No, then it's cool again.
I just need, I need something that's this shouldn't be on the road. You know what I mean? That's what I need.
We'll get you an old Nissan Cube. We'll get you a different Nissan. It'll be a Nissan Cube.
I don't know what it is.
I like that though. It's well, also you don't need the flashy thing. Obviously, it's not you know.
Well, I think that's another thing. Is it's a bit of me is I also do have a bit of a contrarian mindset in some respects, and it's no, I reject this idea of. I've always, even when I was super poor, I always rejected the idea of status symbols. I just thought it was stupid,
silly, yeah,
silly. Oh, you're cool because you even now. I don't want to judge people here, but I see someone with a Louis Vuitton bag, and I shouldn't say this because half our locker room has Louis Vuitton bags, but I just see them, and it's so hard for me to not judge.
Because you're
because I have this, because I'm that is just a status symbol. You can't tell me you like that design. It's the same design on every bag. There's nothing unique or distinct about it. It's strictly a status symbol.
Yeah.
And how you fall for that, I'm not, okay. I have to stop myself from doing that.
Have you ever gotten into that argument with someone that has the bag?
Oh no, it's far too offensive.
Yeah.
Even now, I hope this doesn't get somebody's gonna for sure take this little.
I like that. You're I hope it doesn't get out.
Yeah.
3 cameras are on us and we're rolling.
But I'm actually kind of forgetting that cameras are on because we're just chatting, right?
No, but you're right. I know what you mean by that.
I fundamentally reject the idea of the status symbol.
Unless, what if the status symbol has status with it because it's a phenomenal product? Where's the value in that, right? Look, at a fancy car, right? Like this. I like cars. I'm the opposite. I'm in love with cars. I'm obsessed with cars. Mm-hmm. And a fancy high-end car, let's just take for
because
example,
of high performance.
That's what I'm saying. So if the performance outdoes the status symbol, that's the balance. I can't
fault you for that. Listen, I'm very snooty about a lot of the things I like. Coffee, I'm not going to get whatever.
Starbucks, you can say it. You don't drink Starbucks.
Or whatever. An absolute pinch, I might. But I need coffee nerds making my coffee. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
I need losers who take it way too seriously.
It's their entire life.
Okay. Now we can talk.
Right.
What are the flavor? What's the flavor profile?
Right.
Which one's the fruitiest of the bunch? Oh, it has a floral kind of thing, and it's kind of complex. Now we're talking because I'm
coffee snob.
I'm a bit of a coffee snob.
I like this.
And even with my food because I'm vegan, so I don't just like stop at McDonald's late at night or eat Wendy's or whatever. I'm like, I'm seeking out my food.
Yeah.
And so it's deliberate and it's intentional.
And it's very specific.
And I want quality. I'm not poo-pooing quality here. I want to be clear. I'm not anti-quality.
Just Louis Vuitton bags.
I'm anti-status symbol.
I get
I'm
it.
anti the idea that you wear this thing mindlessly. It's like, that's, I think part of it to me is there's an implied mindlessness to it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is the thing you do when you're rich, so I'll just do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I know I'm being judgmental.
Sure.
And I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I am. But that's
if the quality, if the performance outweighs the symbol, it's worth it then.
sure.
Right. If it's a thing that does what it's supposed to do to such a high degree, then it's worth the money.
If it's the best of the best.
It's the best of
But
the
if
best.
it's a handbag,
If it's a handbag. Also, I'm not judging. I'm not judging. Don't yell at me. Interesting that a lot of guys have handbags now. A lot of guys have handbags now. That's a
what
whole.
do you mean?
Well, you said in the locker room, guys have them.
Well, like the girls have like the Louis Vuitton, but you see guys with like the backpacks.
That's
or
what I mean. But the
roller
bags
or-
is a big deal for men now. A lot of men wear satchels and bags and all that
well,
stuff.
they're very practical.
I guess I don't.
I
Yes,
I got made fun of for a very long time for wearing a fanny pack on the road.
yeah, I would make fun of you. See,
yeah.
your judgment about the other side is
Yeah.
me judging. That's
But
a
mine
ridiculous
was,
thing.
But that was strictly practical.
I get it. I get it.
I was
It's
on these tours. My passport was in there. My wallet was in
I'm
there.
still gonna make fun of you.
Fair play.
See, because I said, like, with Rogan, I always said
Yeah.
that Joe would wear that and he would always shit on me and be like, oh, I can't believe you're putting all your stuff in your pockets. You could put it in there. And I said, I know, but it just looks silly to me. I don't know what
That's
it is,
fair.
but
That's
it
fair.
does.
And look,
but
let
it is
me-
practical.
let
It
me
really
also
is.
say this.
But so
Let
are
me-
cargo pants, and I don't want those around anymore either. You're a
I
cargo
guess-
pant guy.
No.
That's what I mean. They're practical, but I just don't like the way they look.
I understand, but I want to. I'm going to backpedal here a little because this is my this is my mental sort of game.
This is your mental jujitsu.
Is where I come out with like old habits, which
Yeah.
is like judgment or whatever. Then I stop and I think about it and I kind of go, it's not their fault. You know, there's a reason why everyone is the way they are.
True.
So even the people that like status symbols, there's some reason in their life for whatever it is that they want to embody that or
And
they
it
want to
works.
project that.
Yeah.
So like I find myself forgiving people very quickly, but what I wish I can get to the point of is skipping that first step of like Louis Vuitton. You know, like
Yeah.
I wish I could just skip that and be like, I'm sure they have their reasons and just keep, you know, like I wish I could, I wish that could be my default setting.
Totally.
I'm not quite there.
We'll get you there.
I'm still at like judgment. Wait a minute, think about it. It's not their fault. We're all just, you know, we are who we are for a reason. Anyways, la 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 la.
Ba-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I'll have to get really specific coffee.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you. I've learned to become a little bit more zen about that shit.
Yeah.
And I think it only came from I think it just came from like other people infusing their who gives a shit on me. And I used to be extremely like, well, what the fuck? And I had a comment for everything.
Mm.
And not to say I don't. I still do. As a comedian,
Yeah,
it's my
yeah.
part of my job is
Right?
be an
Yeah.
observational asshole.
Yeah.
But then you'll meet someone who's more zen than you and more balanced, and you'll say a comment like, look at this fucking guy's wearing this thing, and
Mhm.
then they'll go, oh yeah. So, and then they skip through it, and
They
you're
just
like,
don't care at all.
oh fuck, why do I give a shit? Well,
Yeah.
if that guy likes that thing, how could I've learned to become a little bit, like I used to say,
Yeah.
when I was super broke and I was living in this just repulsive, disgusting apartment with like 3 other men, and it was fucking the worst. And my car got broken in, my Hyundai got broken into, and they stole CDs. And we lived in a shitty little area, and it was just a bummer place. And I was broke and fucking just eating my way through ramen noodles every night. And this,
Quick question.
yeah,
Finish the story, but
yeah.
how do you look back on that time now?
I blank it out of my mind. No, I'm kidding. No, I think about it all the time.
Do you have fond memories of it more than unpleasant
Oh,
memories?
totally. I do,
Right.
of course. But
So what
but
do you
it was
think-
a shitty,
okay,
shitty
let's
time.
circle back
No,
to
what
that.
I was
Carry
just
on. I'm
what I was
sorry.
just gonna say was
Okay.
in the apartment complex next door, which was
Uh-huh.
equally as dog shit in the same shitty little area. It wasn't like the apartment was any nicer. There was a guy who had a brand new Porsche. I mean, it had to have been maybe 2 years old max. And I was like, how the fuck is a guy
Yeah.
who lives here driving a $150,000, $200,000 car. We're living the same shitty ramen life. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So I used to judge it, and I would, I would talk shit about it to the guys, or I would always make comments, or I'd think about it as I'd pass it, sometimes walking through the alleyway. And then then you get older, and you also realize, well, man, if that makes that fucking guy happy, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Why would I give a shit? I mean, I don't think it's a move I would make. But also,
ultimately, that is what it boils down. It's like, how does this affect me in any way?
And, nothing. It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's the irony of all this stuff. It's
Right.
like, it doesn't affect you. What the fuck do you care? It has no bearing on my happiness or my future. I'm spending more time being annoyed at somebody's choice that I think is stupid.
Yeah. You know, the only person who is affected by this is you.
Me. That's
just walking around angry needlessly.
That's
right?
what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's the trick. That's the
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton bag. It's
Yeah.
like, fuck it. What do I care? So when I meet somebody, or I have friends in my life who have extremely Zen shit that I'm struggling to get, because I have this Irish Catholic, Italian anger, like this fucking guy in my veins. It's hard to like push that out. It's hard to like get rid of it.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
slowly have learned, who gives a fuck?
Well,
Why do I care?
my thing comes from a slightly different perspective. It's not even the Zen of like, you're right about what you're saying. But for me, it's not even, oh, why bother caring? For me, it's like a softness that came later in life. Like, this is going to sound extremely patronizing, but I kind of like, I feel sorry for everybody.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
You feel bad?
I feel, but for everybody. Like for everybody.
Because everyone's going through something?
That's right.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you know what? Again, it goes back to like, they are the way they are for a reason.
Sure.
And if you're carrying this around, like, I don't know what led to this, but like, hey man, do you?
Do you?
And like, I'm sorry, like, but I don't mean that. I know that can sound extremely condescending or like patronizing, but I mean, I really mean that sincerely. I have like a genuine, it's like empathy, I suppose might be the word.
Yeah, it's empathetic.
Like, oh,
yeah.
you're a human too. And, this is a product of things that have happened to you. And I'm sure you had a tough life. And again, not in a patronizing way, but like being human's hard.
Yeah.
And I've been pretty lucky to not go through a lot. Although maybe I have, and my perspective shape colors are different, but I don't think I've suffered very much compared to the amount of human suffering that's out there.
Sure.
Like I'm at the bottom. I'm like, I'm a 1%er when it comes to like
Suffering.
minimal human suffering in my life. Extremely lucky.
That's great.
Yes. But like the human experience, as you said earlier, is filled with suffering.
Totally.
So it's like, oh man, I'm sorry that you have to go through that
sorry
too.
You're suffering.
So if like
The next time you pass a
if
Louis
a
bag
Louis
in the locker
Vuitton
room,
bag somehow makes its way into the equation, like, hey, that's cool, okay? You know what I mean?
I want you to pass someone with a Louis bag and just go, sorry for your suffering.
I have talked way too much about the Louis Vuitton bag. Now there's no coming back.
This episode of Whiskey Ginger is sponsored by Louis Vuitton.
Oh man,
No, but I get
you get
it.
what I'm
I get
saying?
it. I get
like
it.
even like not to get political, but like Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
Like
Loves
whatever.
Louis Vuitton. Loves Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, I imagine that would be great.
Yeah,
I'm
a big Louis collector. I'm the
obviously,
biggest one on earth.
There's times if I just look at him as just a human, I'm like, damn man, it's got to be tough
Yeah.
to be that guy.
Yeah.
And carry that all the time.
Oh, that weight? Yeah.
Yeah, but like that might be a bad example because like, well, and again, I don't want to go down the wrong path here with all
It's
this
fine.
stuff.
It doesn't matter.
But like, I'm saying if you just look at people as human beings and nothing else,
Yeah.
like,
What a nightmare.
tough go, man. That's all.
It's true.
That's it. Like,
So maybe we
you're
should all be
still-
doing that. Look at everyone like a human instead of the thing that you think they are.
yeah, exactly. Thank
Yeah.
you for boiling it down so wonderfully. That's
cooked it.
exactly
I
it.
cooked it down.
Yeah. So I'm not good at that. I'm not good at summarizing it in a perfect little tidbit. I'll
I
just
got
like
you.
ramble. Yeah.
You feed me and I got you.
You know, I've noticed I have a couple of comic friends and they're very good at doing that. They take what you're saying and they're like,
And push it
succinct.
down.
Yeah.
Right.
Succinct. Yeah.
Get it down to it's get it down to cut all the fat. That's what we like to say that as comics, and when people are writing jokes and you have a friend helping you, they'll say, cut the fucking fat out of it.
They say the same thing.
Just cut the fat out of it. Yeah, in your industry, it's a cut the fat out. Otherwise, you're not on TV anymore.
No, but like for sure when you're putting stuff together, you're like, this is
Cut the fat.
Oh, especially in promos when you're talking. So that's actually my process because I'll come at an idea. Let's say when we're talking about wrestling now in an interview and you have a 6-minute talking segment. I have all these things I want to say. So it's kind of like this is the process I have if I have a writer working with me.
Right.
I'm like, here's a lot. Help me whittle it down.
That's
Blah,
good.
blah, 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 blah. This, okay, what's, and then I just trim it
Key
down.
points and trim it down.
That's it. And the last like year or two, especially, maybe even 3, the more time I've had, the more reps I've had with live television time and interviews and all that stuff, the more you start to realize, man, like there's so much fluff.
Yeah.
You can say so much less and get so much more out of it.
Say less,
But
get more.
Yeah, and I guess that's the art, and that just takes time to learn. There's no other way to learn it but that. Right?
Doing it.
Time,
Yeah.
doing it,
is
being like,
learning it.
oh, didn't need that. Oh, I
Right.
didn't need that. Didn't need that. You just come out there and say one line sometimes, right? If you do it right.
What's up, bitch? Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
And-
that would actually pack a punch, right?
I know. Yeah.
If that's it.
Yeah.
You're going down.
Who was when you were a kid, who was the wrestler that you thought was king? Who was king to you?
The king shifted several times depending on where I was at in my childhood.
Sure.
So it started like Hogan when I was a kid.
Hogan was always the king.
right. And then as I got a little bit older and being Canadian, Bret Hart
Yeah.
was my guy.
Yeah.
And as I became a teenager, Mick Foley was my guy.
Foley's the man.
And the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
Because the Hardy Boys were extremely relatable to me. They were like kids who wrestled in their backyard.
Right.
And they weren't giants and they had awesome matches. I'm like, oh my God, this
You
could
were-
be me.
that was you.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
could be me. Yeah. And actually that's when I was turning 15, 16. I was like, well, I should just get trained to be a wrestler. That's what kind of made it an attainable thing.
The Hardy Boys kind of led you down that
Mick
path.
Foley's book specifically and the Hardy Boys, because Mick Foley's book talked about his journey and, that kind of pulled back the curtain in a way that I don't think it had been pulled back. And like the idea of like wrestling schools
You sure?
and what happens at a wrestling school and what it takes, like the hustle that we're talking about earlier and sleeping in your car and all this stuff. Of course, to me, I romanticized it. I'm like, wow, that's like paying your dues and that's like that. And now he's here. And
It is
that's
romantic.
the
It is
grind.
romantic.
Yeah, it is
though.
very romantic.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, when they're doing it, I think
Like
that's
you asked me about the house
yeah.
when you said about that, like those fond memories I have of living in a place sharing a bathroom with 3 other guys, and I
Because
lived
it's all
in
part
a
of the
dining room.
struggle. And the
It was
struggle
kinda
is-
nice.
Yeah. Like in
Also, you
hindsight,
can relate to everyone also doing it. The beauty of the community when you're doing that is it's the same reason I'm from Chicago. It's the same reason I love and miss Chicago, because communally you complain about the Cubs or the
Yeah.
weather or the L or
yeah.
and that communal bitching.
Yeah.
It's so warm.
Yeah.
It's so warm. I don't care how
Yeah.
cold it is in Chicago.
I know.
Complaining about something as a group.
I've said the exact same thing about Montreal. There's like something about living in cold weather
Yeah.
that brings people together because you're all it's all of you unite against the common enemy of
Right.
which is the weather and the
The
cold.
weather. Yeah, you're suffering as one.
Yeah.
We're all suffering.
Like
Yeah.
you're shoveling and your neighbor and you look at him and you're
I believe
right.
this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There is beauty in that.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
Of course.
But
There's a-
that's where the struggle comes from. That's where that fantasy
Yeah.
of the Hardy Boys and the
yeah,
romanticizing
yeah.
of like
So I'm pro struggle.
Pro-struggle.
In addition to being pro shame.
pro shame, pro
Pro
struggle.
shame, pro struggle. Yeah.
So when you had the influence, then did you go to school right away when you were 16?
So my story's kind of interesting in that regard. So I was finishing up high school. I was 16, and when I was 14, I lived in a certain part of town, and the kids who lived in that town got rezoned to a different high school. So the last 2 years of high school, I went to a different school. And then as I was about to graduate, I got a call from my friend from my old school, who I hadn't heard from in 2 years. And when you're 14, 2 years is an eternity.
It's forever.
Yeah, so I get a call on my home phone, Hey, it's this guy, Steve Testoni. He's like, hey, Rami, it's Steve. I'm like, oh, hey, man, how you been? It's been 2 years. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Like,
I haven't seen you since the
Yeah,
war.
exactly, right? He's like, well, I got a job as an intern on this wrestling radio show in Montreal, and there's a local independent wrestler here. And if you're still interested, because we used to always talk about, wrestling in art class or whatever. And
Did you wrestle too in high school or no?
not really. No, I don't think my high school had a team or anything like that. But we would talk about wrestling. We were wrestling when the gymnastics equipment was out, and like we're always just wrestling and talking about wrestling. And we'd say, well, one day we'll be a tag team and all this stuff, right? And he reached out and he's like, well, are you still interested in wrestling? I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, this guy will train us if you're interested. I said, yeah.
Wow.
And so then I graduated high school and I started training, and I'd read Mick Foley's book about, the 8-hour drives for a $20 gig and all that kind of
Hell
thing.
yeah.
And I'd be there like on the city bus for 20 minutes going like, man, I'm on the bus. I'm on the city bus going to get trained. Like it's the same
doing
grind.
it.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But there was something about that. Like, yeah, it's not 8 hours to, but it's still, I'm doing it. There
Yeah.
is something to that. I'm doing it.
You were.
And then like getting trained and then like going to these really small companies and just asking them if I could wrestle for them.
And
And
how often was it no?
Oh, no, it was all yes.
They were, yeah, sure, yeah. You're dumb
Like
enough
this
to
is
get
the
in here.
Quebec independent scene in,
Okay.
in 2002.
I didn't know.
The standards are not high. I'm like, hey, I'm a wrestler. Can I wrestle on your show? Oh, yeah, sure. We run every Friday. You're good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, there was no money involved.
Didn't matter. But
Yeah.
you got to do the thing.
I got to do the thing.
That was us going to open mics. As comics, you would just go to open mics and you kept going and going and going and going and
And
going.
they don't
going.
pay. It's $0.
Yeah,
so
$0.
it's-
Sometimes you
yeah.
got to bring somebody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know what
yeah.
that like a bringer show?
Yeah, yeah,
We'd
yeah.
have to get people from like either your office or people in the neighborhood or someone you knew to come in order for you to perform. So I say, bring 3 people and you can perform.
Right.
So you'd fist fight to get people. You'd be like, please come watch me.
Yeah, yeah,
People are like,
yeah.
I don't want to go to that fucking coffee shop. Dude, that place sucks. And you're like, please, it's the only way I'm going to be able to do 5 minutes, maybe, usually 3 because they light you fast and get you the fuck off.
you
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
You get the
yeah.
light. They bring up their, let's go. And you're like, I just got up here.
This is my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing, you were doing it. So just because it was not 8 hours, the city bus is still doing it.
Yeah.
You were going to do the thing to make no money over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, and so the again, there are so many parallels I think with stand up and wrestling, but the one difference that makes it so unique is the physical aspect. Is wrestling like hurts your body,
Well, for sure.
right? So I remember doing matches.
And ours hurts our brain and our heart.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it does a bit of both if it goes bad, right? But
Yeah.
but if you go and you do, I do like again, just a distinct feeling of doing a show and then catching like the last Metro home because I lived in Laval and I would do a show in like East End, Montreal, and catching the last Metro on the last bus and just being like beat up and being like, I'm doing it, and just
Yeah.
being beat up. And that just adds a different, I don't know what it is.
No, it does.
It adds something else.
For
I
sure.
don't know.
Well, the physical element makes it more like, it's almost like when you.
high stakes.
High stakes, yeah.
And going back to, what you were saying about like phoning it in, I'm sure tons of wrestlers have phoned it in or like, let's just give them the hits tonight or whatever, I'm sure. But I think part of what the difference between, let's say, I don't even want to say Nas, because even performing musical like that stuff takes more of a physical toll than I think people realize.
Totally does.
Jumping up on stage and all that stuff. But
Well, you're just giving and giving and giving. Dude, talking for an hour when we do an hour
yeah, I
of
bet
comedy,
you're spent at
people
the
have no
end.
idea.
Yeah.
They assume they're like, come on, let's go out and have something to eat or drink. And you're like,
yeah.
dude, I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
I just had,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
exhausted my brain and my
Right.
body. It doesn't look like it,
Yeah.
but it really is. Obviously not physically taxing, but it's emotionally draining.
Yeah, 100%.
It's draining. And you have the physical element, which
Well,
is,
the only reason I bring it up is because I think it's harder to phone it in when physicality is involved.
that's true.
Because in it, like, there's no way for your system not to get boosted once your blood starts moving
Right.
and you're moving around. So I think even guys who go out there ready to phone it in, once they're cooking,
You don't have
like
a choice.
you're kind of cooking. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Who's
like-
who's the best competitor you've gone up against?
I can't really identify one.
Yeah.
There's a guy Kevin Owens is the guy that my name is like synonymous with.
One of your best friends.
We started together in Quebec, like our first year in the business is when we met, and now we're teaming for the tag titles at WrestleMania in 2 nights.
And that's just because you're Canadian. That's the only reason why.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, it's just like it's just
Two
insane.
Quebecians that know each other's life.
Well, but it's not just that. That's the weirdest part is that like our paths have been so similar and like intertwined at every step. We both like came up through the indies together, and then we both got signed. Like, there were slight staggered parts of our career, but we always kind of came back.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't think there's another 2 people ever in wrestling that have this same kind of story. It's
That's
weird.
Fucking rad.
It's really, really weird. Yeah.
And he's a partner, but
He's
at
a
any
partner.
point,
He's been an enemy. We've
an
been everything in
enemy
between.
again.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And it's just so unique. That's what I think. And the crazy thing about it is I remember just feeling like in 2005, 6, when we would wrestle each other, we're like, dude, how are people not sick of seeing this match? Like they've been seeing it for a year or 2. Now it's been 20 years. But I think that's another thing is we both have a similar mindset when it comes to owing the fans something.
Yeah.
We have a similar mindset of like, we can't rest on our laurels. We pretend that like they've seen all our matches. So this one has to be different.
you both hate Louis Bags.
He probably hates Louis Bag. I probably think about it more than he does.
Yeah, but he does too.
Yeah, I'm sure if I asked him, he'd just be like, "Oh, Louis Bags, yeah,
Yeah,
stupid."
fucking.
But me, I have a whole like psychological breakdown for it, and like
Yeah.
the social, connotation beneath it all, and all that bogus stuff. Anyway, at the end of the day, I do feel sorry once again. If you have a Louis Bag, it's
People know you're
fine.
kidding. People know.
It's fine. Life is hard for everyone.
Yeah, man, get that bag, dude.
Get the bag.
Get the bag, baby.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you can't pinpoint one. But that is nice that and you're best friends with him in the real world as well, outside of the ring.
Yeah, I'd say so because I mean it's just it's a kind of bond that you I mean I have older friends and I have friends that I was closer with at different parts of my life, but there's a bond that exists there that you just no one else will understand it but him.
Yeah, that's
It's like
great.
a war buddy thing, you know what I mean?
And at the end of the day, you can speak French to each other.
And we do.
Yeah, I know you do.
In the locker room when
I
it's
know
like
you do. Yeah.
nice, and we'll just talk if we have to.
Say, look at that stupid fucking Louis bag in French.
Yeah. Oh, sac à dos Louis Vuitton calice.
See, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
That's like Quebec cursing there, but
No, but it's that's great that I mean, that's how cool to have that. Like that's a moment. Well, the one thing I was going to ask, because we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, we breezed over it, but I was going to say like a buddy to get a beer with, but no booze for you, but not that you're sober. You just never, ever got into it.
Well, so I think being brought up Muslim and alcohol's forbidden in Islam and all
bad
that.
boy stuff. Bad boy stuff.
Yeah, but there's tons of Muslims who
I was going to say,
who
I'm friends with
drank.
many Muslims who
Many
drink.
Muslims who drank,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, and I certainly did some things in my life that are not Muslim,
Sure.
And
Coming on this show. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, depending on how strict you want to get, I mean, my mom would be like, don't wear such tight clothes, because my mom was ultra religious. My parents are both scholar level religious,
Wow.
So even wrestling, if you wanted to make a case for it, was inherently
Anti-Muslim.
anti-Muslim. Well, yeah, things about it were certainly un-Islamic, or wanting to wrestle for WWE, especially back in the early 2000s when it was bras and panties.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was tits and ass.
it's a
Lot of
different
tits and
game
ass
now.
back
It's a
then.
different game now. But there was certainly a time when it would have made any religious person go, "Oh my God!" Yeah.
Well, also, you could say that was WWF back then.
Sure.
It's a new world
Yeah, that's
now.
true. Oh, it's crazy how much the world has changed, just let
It's
alone WWE.
so different.
Yeah.
The McMahon days of coming out with all those women. It's just, I mean, it was just like.
So I saw a clip recently of a wrestler named Rikishi. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
He's actually one of the teams that I'm wrestling the Usos at WrestleMania. He's their dad. So I saw a clip recently where The Rock grabbed Vince McMahon's head and shoved it right in Rikishi's ass, which was Rikishi's gimmick was that he had a huge ass and he was always out all the time. And I remember watching and going, my God, the thing that blew my mind about this clip wasn't that what I was watching was crazy. It's that when I watched it when I was younger, I didn't think it was crazy at all.
That was awesome.
I just thought it was normal.
Yeah.
It was so normal. It was so not controversial.
Right.
And that was the shocking part of the clip.
Right.
Is I'm like, this wasn't nobody batted an eyelash at this. Yeah. This was a weekly occurrence back then. You know, it's just normal.
Did you have to hide then, wanting to be a wrestler from your parents?
No.
They were super supportive.
They were
regardless.
supportive. Yeah.
Because they may be very religious and very strict, but they never wanted you to feel like you couldn't do what you wanted to do.
Never.
So super supportive. That's
very
awesome.
supportive. Very I mean, different levels of support, I suppose. Because Kevin, for example, his parents have been to all his shows.
Your parents have never been to any shows.
The first show they ever came to is when I wrestled for WWE in Montreal.
Right.
So this is, I don't know what, maybe 10 years ago, but it was the first show they saw was 10,000 people in the Bell Center.
See,
They weren't there for 40 people in elementary school in St. Rose.
Right.
But it's but I didn't take that as I can't believe they didn't show up. It wasn't like that. I knew they supported, but I don't know. I guess they also had 5 kids, 5 boys.
Yeah, and they loved them
staggered
more.
age. Yeah, I just don't parent teacher nights and stuff like that. So my dad recently told me a story about how he went to a parent teacher thing for my 2 older brothers when they were in grade 1, and my jaw hit the ground because they never had any scholarly involvement of they just had no involvement in seemingly anything other than the Islamic community.
Right.
When it came to talking to my teacher, it was only hey, he's in a lot of trouble. We need to talk to you.
All right.
Then they'd have to come to school or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if they were dropping me off at friends' houses, this might be a cultural thing, but it's like they drop me off and they'd be like, all right. But they never came and talked to the other parents and were like, oh, hi.
Right.
Small talk or
Like,
whatever.
what about sleepovers? Did you ever sleep over at someone's
My
house?
parents were staunchly anti-sleepover.
So no one slept over at your house, but could you sleep over at someone else's house?
It was a big fight to make it happen.
But it
They
did
let
happen,
it
so, yeah.
happen. Yeah, but it was like they didn't like it. And now I kind of get it all these years
What was that
later.
about? Why no?
I don't know. I think you just don't know what might happen out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, do they think you're going to do something you shouldn't be doing?
For sure. And I think they also worried about something happening to you.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which I think is like,
But if they went to the door and met the parents and they dropped you off, maybe they changed their perspective. Still no.
maybe not, man. Like I don't know. Maybe some stuff happened in their life that I'm not saying to them, but in their periphery
Sure.
or to people they knew, that they just knew like leaving kids unattended in a stranger's house is just not a good idea.
It is a very weird
And like
idea.
now as an older person, I'm like, yeah, what sleepovers? What is that insanity?
Yeah.
Like even if I met the kid's dad, let's say I have my son and he, he's friends with this kid. Like, I don't know this guy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let my kid sleep there. It seems insane when you really think about it.
No, it is crazy. It's absurd.
It's like a very, I don't know. I think
But man, was it fun.
it was awesome.
The
yeah.
trouble we got into, it was so great.
But that is where I watched my first porno. So,
shit, same.
So like,
Yeah,
you're
so-
kind of right.
so you can't- yeah,
That's where you're like, no parents.
But even parents then know that. They go, well, come on, they're going to watch their first porno. These guys got to break something. They're going to smoke drug. They're going to do something they're not supposed to be doing. It's almost like them facilitating the chaos because they're like, well, they're going to do it in my house and at least they're not in the woods.
But so this is where my upbringing is very interesting because like my parents were not just Muslim. They're immigrants. They're from the old world.
Yeah.
So it was like, I grew up a product of two, like I joked about the white privilege thing at the top of this, right? But I had an inherent understanding, and maybe this is part of what shaped me as a person, of kind of another thing I touched on earlier was like seeing that things are not necessarily default settings, that they're cultural.
Right.
I think I saw that from a very young age. Obviously I couldn't articulate it because I hadn't studied sociology at the time,
Right.
But like I had an inherent understanding of like, there's no default setting here because I go to school in one country, it's called Canada. And then I go home and my home is Syria.
Right.
Like these are two, and they were like opposite.
Yeah.
They did not work very well in synergy, like Syrian Islamic culture in the house. And then outside, for all intents and purposes, I'm like a white redheaded kid.
Yeah, white redhead Canadian kid.
Right. So like I understood the duality there from the jump.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes you realize like, hey, that ain't necessarily the right way. It's a way.
It's not the only way.
It's not the only way.
Totally.
And I don't think, I think a lot of people don't learn that till they start traveling, let's say in their 20s. If you're lucky enough to travel in your 20s, when you go on your first like trip to Europe and you're like, man, in Italy, they take siestas in the middle of the day. They nap. They're not working 9 to 9.
Yeah.
They nap. And they don't even care. Like, they don't even care how much, like these things that we just took as the default setting of humanity.
Yeah.
You like take a 6-hour plane ride and you're like, whoa, I mean, things are different over there. Like it just blows people's minds the first time they realize, oh, there are multiple ways to do this thing called life. And the way we do it, not only is it not the, a natural law of man that this is where we would end up, in a lot of ways, it's kind of bogus.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be criticized about it.
Yeah, we're often doing a lot of stuff that we might not need to be doing. We just don't know any better.
Yes, exactly. And the only
We're
way
like, wait, why the fuck do I do this? I
Yeah.
don't even like doing this.
Yeah.
And then you're like, do I have to
this, wait, so not everyone in the world's doing this? Are you aware of this?
I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think you just don't have that awareness.
Right.
So I think that was a weird gift that was given to me, which I had no hand in. Going back to my thing about luck.
Yeah.
I had no hand in that, being showed that lesson.
That's luck.
I just happened to be born in Canada.
Was there ever then things that your parents, because they were immigrants, that you had to teach them that you learned as a kid culturally?
Oh, all the time. Well, like the sleepover.
Yeah.
I'm like, hello, it's just a sleepover.
Like,
Or
your
like,
dad's like, what is
whatever.
going on over there? And you're like, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
It's like Fight Club, man. It's the fucking first rule. We can't talk about
so
sleepover.
True.
Can't talk
It's
about
kinda
sleepover.
true.
What are other things that like your parents? Because I had a friend years ago that used to joke about that his parents, were from India, and he used to say like he would teach them everything, and it was like because he would learn stuff in school and bring it home, and then his dad would be like, "What the fuck is that?"
Well, so here's one. Like being polite to wait staff.
Oh, because they're just mean to waiters. Your dad was
Well,
always
no, my mom specifically. Man, like I don't even know because I feel like service is a funny thing in those Arab countries.
go on.
I don't know how to describe this.
Give me the raw detail, baby.
Like, so for example, when I call a waiter, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Can I just trouble you for a glass of water?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. What is this dance I just did?
Yeah.
Your job is to get me water.
Yeah, you don't have to be rude about it, but you have to be. You can
like,
just go.
what
Can I
is-
get a glass of water?
But
Thank you.
what even is rude is cultural,
Ah, yeah.
right? Like, so like whistling at a waiter here is such an insane taboo. But there are other places in the world where
Sure.
like to me, I genuinely think I actually used to have a whole rant about this, like back after shows that would be at IHOP,
Yeah.
and I'd be on this whole rant, but like it should be socially acceptable to whistle at waiters because
Let's hear it.
it's not demeaning. It's demeaning because we say it's demeaning
Culturally,
But if you're
right.
over there and I'm over here, other than shouting, "Hey, excuse me," like that
Yeah.
should be okay.
Because
should be
it was
okay.
followed with the
Well, but see, I'm still
you're doing
North
it.
Americanizing it
because
here.
if you went, hey, and then you waited,
But that's only as demeaning as we say it is.
because culturally here it is though.
But it's arbitrary, is what I'm saying.
It is, but I tend to be on the side of it is oddly demeaning because it's like saying, I own you right now. You got to get me the things I want.
Okay, but is that not the social contract that is? I'm not.
It
hang on.
is.
Yeah.
It is. But however,
Do not crucify me on the internet as being some like
No, but you're right.
a hole to wait staff here. I'm just saying the agreement is when I walk in and
Yeah.
I sit, your job is to serve me whatever I want when I want it.
Totally.
And I'm not saying, of course, you don't demean people. You don't. But I mean, I'm here tiptoeing.
So that's wrong, right? That part you don't need to do.
But we do.
But
Don't you?
I know I don't. I do just an honest level of respect of like, can I get that please? Thank you. That's it. I don't ever really go. I did serving for a while, so I bartended, I served, I did everything. So I don't.
You don't overcompensate.
Nah, because I know better. Because also then it almost feels more diminutive when someone's like, "Thank you."
Yeah,
That's the problem.
Sure.
So then when you just do like a baseline level of human respect that you'd give to somebody on the fucking train or a cabbie or
But what I'm saying is that's not baseline human respect. It's like it's cultural.
It's cultural baseline. It's our westernized cultural baseline.
Yeah. So
Yes.
yes, right.
It's the one I like. How about that? I've seen the other ones. I like the one where you go to a flight attendant, "Thank you," when they give you the thing. But I have seen other people that when they get
just
a thing,
don't say thanks.
they don't even look at them, and it's
or
like
like a lot of cultures that like get deemed rude, like for example, Germans or Russians or whatever. Sometimes,
well,
because-
Germany's got a tough history. No, I'm kidding.
but I'm
I
saying
know.
because
I
they're
know.
not super smiley,
Yeah.
and we're used to like over the top smiley customer service and all that, that we think they're rude when they're just direct.
They're just they're very
They're just like,
very
what would you
forward.
like? Okay, cool, and they're gone. Like they didn't say.
Well, who can we blame for this in the Western world? Because you fuckers, meaning Canadians, you're annoyingly nice. You guys make fun of us because Canadians are always like, oh,
So
Americans.
I've always thought that the States is over the top nice compared to Canada.
Oh, you guys are way not. You guys are
But
way
that's-
more kiss
I
ass than
think-
us.
I think that's just the
Well,
rep. I
time
think
out.
that's just the perception.
You're also East Coast. Quebec is doesn't count.
Yeah,
Quebec, you're
that's
your
fair.
own. Yeah,
That's fair.
Quebecians are more French. They're more European than the rest of
I mean,
Canada. Because you guys
anytime-
are frogs. You're Frenchies.
But in America, ever since I first started coming to America, I'm like, it's take it down a notch. Like,
See,
you
that's
get
how
on-
we talk about
you-
Canada.
You get on a plane. Good morning. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, thank you.
Have you been to
Baba."
Australia?
Yeah, I have.
I was just there. So nice, it's annoying. It's different. Down there, they're way too nice.
But what I'm
Hey,
saying,
how you going? And you're like, hi.
how you going?
It's
Yeah.
7 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
Wherever
yeah.
I'm going, I'm not there. They're way too nice, dude. It was to a
Yeah.
fault where even I was like, and I like pleasantries. I think it's nice I get hey, how are you? Hey, man, come on. This was so much. I'd begin to kind of get a little, when they would do that in the morning, I go, you got to give me some time.
To who?
Anybody that we were working with on this, in
Okay,
the movie, I was like,
not
man,
like a
I
flight
can't.
attendant or a,
No, well, the people we were working with on the movie,
good
like,
morning. Just take it.
I
just
go,
give me a
I go,
sec.
good morning, good morning. I'd rush through it like, yeah, you gotta leave me alone.
Yeah.
I was up at 4:30. I'm tired.
Hey, and you know what's funny when you think about it? Sometimes like that interaction is enough for someone to just label you.
A dick.
Yep, forever.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah, it's wild.
Forever.
And you're like, no, I'm just tired.
I swear, I had a guy tell me, we became friends, but he told me that, one time he disliked me for years because one time he met me at an independent show when I was like higher on the independent wrestler totem pole than he was. And he said hi to me and I was dismissive.
Yeah.
But I have obviously zero recollection of this.
Sure.
And it may have been like, I'm lacing my boots. I'm on in 2 minutes. It's like, hey, good to meet you. Like, hey, and you know, you don't even think about these interactions.
Yeah.
But then somebody is
That
like,
guy takes it home.
that guy, that Sammy, yeah, he's a real piece of work. You know, for the next 6 years, that's the story going around.
And you know what that guy goes and does?
What?
He goes and buys a Louis bag to fill that fucking mean Sammy void. And so when he straps on his Louis bag next time
Well,
and he sees you, he
I mean,
goes,
you said it, not me. As far as like, see, I say I'm over the judgment, but clearly I'm not.
clearly you're not.
Yeah. You're feeling something with that.
But I know what you mean, though.
Aren't we all?
But it is cultural, and it is interesting how we deal with those kind of cultural norms that may seem, unusual for the opposite culture and usual for the present culture, where you're like, no, that guy's so rude. It's like, no, that's just not in his world. That's
Yeah.
not what people do.
So I've noticed it more, and I don't think I'm an especially cultured person, but maybe I am. But like when we go on some of these overseas tours with other WWE wrestlers, it was like sometimes mind-boggling to me how like quick they were to dismiss an entire country sometimes over the behavior of like a
Fuck this
single
whole place.
Yeah, like a single hotel receptionist.
Right.
Like Switzerland, like just because the one person's like, sir, give me a minute because I'm busy, and like that's it. And like now you've impugned an entire country based on this one interaction. So it's like, I don't know, that stuff cracks me up.
But we do it naturally. We all do that. That is like, immediately when you go somewhere else and you say, and if someone's like, where are you from? And you're like, Canada. They're like, oh yeah, Canada. But then that same person, hey, where's your friend from? You go, the States. They go, the States.
Yeah, right.
Everybody
right.
does that. Everyone has this kind of compacted idea that they understand an entire place to be, even though that's insane because the United States has fucking 360 million people.
I was actually saying this today because I was driving around LA today, and I love LA. I love almost everywhere actually. But I love LA especially. And I was driving and I said, man, can you imagine people come to LA and they're just like, they hate LA.
Oh,
Or they
yeah.
go to New York and they hate New York.
People do that.
Well, and this is the thing that I think is so funny. And this is, again, been blessed with the ability and privilege of traveling all over the world for many, many years. But like, people will dismiss an entire city, country, whatever you want, continent, an entire people, an entire culture, an entire civilization, sometimes based on their limited 48-hour experience in a town.
Right.
Like I came to New York, we went to Times Square, there were lights everywhere. I hated it. Screw New York. Don't even talk to me about New York. Okay.
Yeah.
That was your experience in a vacuum. You
Right.
can't judge the entire city. Have you been to the Lower East Side?
No.
Get
we
out
went
a
to the
little bit.
M&M
Yeah.
store in
Yeah,
Times
yeah,
Square, and
yeah.
that city
Right.
sucks.
Yes, I'm just, you can't. Again, we go to Sweden. I remember we went to, because I'd been to Sweden before I'd went to WWE, and then when WWE went to Sweden, I was like, guys, wait till we get to Sweden. I was like hyping up Sweden to all the boys, right? And then we get to Sweden, and we get in late, and I don't know, customs are a little different, and maybe the hotel food. One lady wouldn't hold the elevator for one of the guys, and I remember him just saying like, "F Sweden."
You're like, what?
Because that lady wouldn't hold the elevator.
Yeah.
The whole country.
The whole
had to
country
pay.
can suffer because of her. Because Margaret Clorgan
Man, and that
didn't
guy's
hold the
gonna go
elevator.
back to the States and be like, Sweden, don't go there.
Sucks.
Yeah, don't go, man.
Sucks.
People are rude. They food's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, no, the food's not terrible. Catering that night at the Marriott was terrible.
That was terrible.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that's another thing about, I don't know, just I don't know, decompartmentalizing perhaps, or not throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Great phrase. Great phrase. Don't do it. Great phrase. Do you know why that phrase was born, by the way? Because
I'm afraid of the answer.
Well,
actually.
a family would take baths, right? A full family would take baths, and the baby would typically get the last bath. Father would get the first bath, and then the wife, and then children down the line. So the baby would get the last bath.
I feel like it should be opposite.
A baby should get the first bath.
He's the cleanest.
Smallest body, though. Biggest body probably needs all the water. Let's get dad in there first.
Water absorption is what you're saying?
No, just like who needs the most water? Baby needs almost no water.
What I'm saying is now the baby is going to get all the filthy water.
That's right. So don't throw the baby out with the filthy water. That's where that came from. So it'd be dirty, dirty water from the bodies. And the joke was, if you dumped out the buckets,
you're going to throw the baby out.
You're going to throw the baby out.
Yeah,
because you didn't see him in that dirty
I'm
water.
approaching this from a logical
I don't think the baby should get all the water.
I'm just saying the baby should get first because he's going to be the clean. Dad's filthy from working in the coal mine or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
The coal mine. Where is this?
No, the coal mine. You're right.
The first thing I was picturing was like one of those tenement apartments in New York.
That's probably what it was.
You know, there's no coal mines there. But anyway, the father's the provider.
He was a chimney sweep. He had coal all over him.
Yeah, he's filthy.
He's a filth
bag. He's filthy from manual labor all day.
He should be last.
Not last, but I think the baby goes first, then the dad.
Oh, see,
so the baby gets the cleanest water, hygienic. It's important.
And then all the kids and the mom get the dirty water from dad. So you're mixed up. I think dad goes last then. Yours either has to go.
And I think I'm so much above these like social hierarchies, but here I am playing this game.
Here you are.
Who am I? What a piece of garbage, man. I think I'm so great.
You know what we learned on this podcast today? You don't like Louis bags.
There's a lot you could take away from that.
I know, that's
right?
it.
Yeah, we delved into that way more than I expected.
I appreciate you so much doing this. I'm glad that we came here and we got to fight it out the way that we really wanted to fight it out.
Yeah.
I've been talking that shit. I'm glad we got to do it,
I just really hope the people who tuned in around the 2-minute mark and stuck around. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah,
I hope they did.
Yeah.
Good luck at WrestleMania. That's
Thank you.
amazing. I'm stoked for you. I appreciate you. We end the episode the same way. You look in that camera right there, that's your camera, and you say one word or one phrase to take us home. This is going to be embedded in history forever. So one word or one phrase from you to that camera that's going to end the episode whenever you're ready.
Do people struggle with this?
No.
Really? I feel a lot of like weight.
It's a lot of pressure. It's not, but
right?
that's what's beautiful about it. So give it what you got in that camera when you're ready.
You're about to see an ugly side of me here. Not an ugly side, but one of my not so great qualities, which is indecisiveness.
Okay, good.
I don't know what to do here.
Perfect.
I don't know. No. If you buy a Louis Vuitton bag, I guess it's okay.
Yes.
In here, we pour whisk, 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 whisk.
You were that creature in the ginger beard.
Sturdy and ginger.
Like vampires, the ginger gene is a curse.
Gingers are beautiful.
You owe me $5 for the whiskey and $75 for the horse.
Gingers? Oh, hell no.
This whiskey is excellent.
Ginger. I like gingers.